Is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We're gonna be doing another weekend show because I got a concern I want to add, something of concern that I would like to speak to the folks about. There's a hell of a lot of folks out there that believe the presidency or the campaign of President Trump is being strengthened by, some might say, a witch hunt. Others might say unfair treatment. Others have even suggested a weaponized justice system. There's a hell of a lot of folks that believe Trump is not getting a fair shake in his effort to become president again because a lot of entities or the powers that be are after him. Now, we're going to talk about a couple things that I'm sure many of you are certainly aware of at this time. Obviously, E. Jean Carroll out of New York won a civil suit based on some sexual assault from decades ago against President Trump. Then she won a defamation lawsuit against Trump totaling $83.3 million. Now, that was a couple weeks ago. Many of you are certainly aware that as of yesterday, he lost another major case against him, Letitia James in New York, $355 million. So Trump is coming close to being down nearly $500 million. But as you see, the title of today's going to be, is Trump being treated unfairly? Because some folks are suggesting that the way they're treating Trump is strengthening his support and actually drawing folks to him out of sympathy. Why are we asking that question? E. Jean Carroll wins an $83.3 million civil judgment against Trump for defamation. Did he defame her to the level of $83.3 million in damages? How can you explain why the judgment against Trump is so high? What is it based upon? That's E. Jean Carroll. Now, yesterday's case culminated in a verdict, a judgment against Trump on behalf of Letitia James for $355 million against Trump himself. Now, keep in mind, this is a case where there was essentially no victim at all. None of the banks were left hanging. They all allegedly received their payments back from Trump with interest. So every bank that lent money to Trump had their loan satisfied and they profited during the ordeal. So we understand, while it may be a crime to lie on financial documentation over and over and over again, which is what they ruled President Trump actually did, how do you explain $355 million worth of damages when there's no one crying foul other than he violated the law on the books? So we're asking that question today on the program. Is President Trump being treated unfairly? Is it some sort of a witch hunt, or does he deserve these huge civil financial penalties that he is receiving? That is today's topic. As always, the program is and forever will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are always my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome on the program as well. What do we say on every broadcast? We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So make no mistake about it. When you're in the box, whether you're in the comment section, if you disagree with anyone else, or even yours truly, no one gives a damn. It's all about free speech. Looking in the comments right off the bat, Apocalypse Survivor, thank you for the super chat. Digging that Jedi Council sweater. Wow, my apparel drew the first comment. Thank you, Apocalypse Survivor. That's one hell of a name, by the way. Hopefully that doesn't come to fruition. Apocalypse Survivor. So what do you think? Do you think, number 45, President Trump is being mistreated unfairly? These are some huge financial judgments. Going straight to the box. And I appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen already. Matt, Texas. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Matt, Texas. Are you there? Looks like the box is already kind of goofing up. We'll give it a second, and we'll make it happen again. I do appreciate you folks that are hanging with the program. Looks like something's going on. Rico, good afternoon. Okay, Rico came in and went out, so I don't know what's happening here. We'll try it one more time. Matt, Texas is back. We're having some trouble with the box. Matt, are you there?
How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing good. Now, President Trump is dealing with some huge financial rulings against him. Do you believe he is being treated unfairly?
Yes, I do, because the fact of the matter is a lot of people fail to realize that can actually be upheld to the Supreme Court, and how the judge actually has documented bias.
What do you mean when you say documented bias?
Well, the fact that he had stated in the past where he would rule against Trump, given the circumstances, and the majority of the people within Democratic-led states have actually stated that they would rule against Trump.
Well, if he is on record saying he would rule against Trump, is he saying he would rule against Trump in the particular case that he ultimately did rule against Trump in?
But that's the issue, is that it's already biased, no matter how you look at it. And no matter how the situation lies, is that if you actually include the actual financial aspects of it wasn't fraud, the bank agreed to loan him this money and actually identified what his properties were worth.
Well, let me just suggest, in regards to saying it wasn't fraud, they're saying he was evaluating and devaluating his finances improperly. So what you're saying is he didn't tell any lies on the financial documents at all.
Well, he might have said lies, but at the same time, the bank is stating the opposite, that they're pleased with the outcome of it. He paid back what he was owed.
No, here, let me tell you what. Now, I understand and I do agree with you. The banks are happy, but that doesn't absolve him from fraud. The point is, if you lie on the documents themselves, regardless of who you do a financial go ahead.
How many Americans in the lower end lie on a credit card application? Lie on, what you're trying to sit there and say. There's actually a percentage there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that a hell of a lot of folks lie on financial applications, lie on their taxes and things like that. But we're talking about Trump. If you, Matt, go to court and someone charges you with something, asking the judge, well, how many other people commit this and get away with it, that's not going to help you in court. It's all about you when you're in there. So bringing up that other people do it, I don't know if that's going to benefit them.
All I got to say is you're evaluating him more than the average citizen in your judgment, which is ridiculous. Because if other people are capable of lying on their applications and getting away with it, are you not biased and literally discriminating against his situation?
Well, but to respond to that, if they charge me with a crime for lying on my taxes, which a lot of citizens do I get leeway if I can bring up the fact that most Americans don't tell the truth on their taxes? If they got me caught dead to rights, would that help me?
If you were to have the resources to challenge that to Supreme Court level, that you're being discriminated against based off of circumstance, that is 100% a disqualifying aspect of court. And that's the problem, is most people want to sit there and put the average citizen, but the average citizen has been fucked over repeatedly.
But think about what you're saying, though. You said if I had the financial resources to take it to the Supreme Court, I would get off on it. And you and I both know most American citizens do not have the financial resources. So that would mean that the rich folks could actually get away with more because they can prove more from. Do you see Trump possibly benefiting from a two-tier justice system that favors folks that are wealthy?
but that's any system in the United States is that the wealthy are going to get ahead more so than the average citizen that doesn't have the money to do so.
So in other words, the answer is yes, he will be benefiting because of his wealth from a two-tier justice system that favors him.
But at the same time, the problem is that, you know, you want to sit there and say the wealthy are 100% beneficial.
No, you said it. You said that if you had the money and infinite resources to appeal to the Supreme Court, you would get away with it. So the people who do not have the money are going to face the weight of the justice system because they don't have the money to do that.
But if they were smart enough to educate themselves of how law works versus the majority of the individuals that don't, that is where the real problem is.
Okay, but let me make sure I'm getting clarity. You are admitting by Trump being wealthy and having access to resources, he is wait a minute. He is benefiting in ways that you or I are not likely to benefit.
Oh, I can benefit from that all day long.
You're not, but man, with all due respect, Matt, you're avoiding answering that question. Is Trump benefiting from his wealth?
Benefiting from that, but at the same time, the average citizen that understands what law means and understands how to interpret it. Like, I could go back to James Madison and the Federalist Papers, and I could go into detail in comparison to that of the average citizen that doesn't understand what it is.
Okay. So you stated earlier in the conversation that because everybody lies on their financial documents to some degree, I'm not disagreeing with that. But if Trump is indeed caught showing that everything he put down on his financial documents is not true, should he be held accountable for doing that at all?
No, because the bank evaluated his property and stated that it was financially viable for them to loan him the money and what you're talking about. And that's where the issue is that the bank evaluated the property and made a financial decision. How is that fraud? Because
but based on what you're saying, if I lie on my financial documents when applying for a loan and the bank does not catch it, then it's not a crime because they didn't catch it.
But the difference is that you're talking about millions of dollars, which they actually had somebody go out and actually evaluate his property and what it was worth. There is the differential between what you're talking about. Me as an average citizen, I can go apply for a loan for, let's say $20,000, $50,000. They're not going to send out a person to evaluate it. But whenever you're talking about $350 million, they're going to send somebody out.
Okay, well, let me just make sure I get clarity on this. If I apply for a loan and the bank does not do its due diligence to catch the lie I put down, you're saying that if they don't catch it, it's not a crime?
It's really not, because the issue being is they didn't do their due diligence and actually affirm that of law, which as a debtor, I can sit there and say whatever I want to.
Yeah, I gotta disagree. I gotta disagree with you, Matt. A crime is a crime. I don't think whether or not you commit a crime lies in the bank's hands. If the document, hang on. If the document requires you by law to tell the truth, the fact that the bank didn't catch you in a lie does not excuse the fact that you broke the law by doing so. I gotta disagree with you on that, but I'll give you the last word.
Can I say one note on that?
Sure.
Is that a lot of people don't fail to realize is that a free enterprise system within the U.S. Constitution and what you're talking about doesn't require me as a bank to evaluate what you're stating. It evaluates me to be able to prove what you're stating.
Okay. But it does require you to put down that correct information. If the documents, when you're filing for a loan, you are required to put down the correct information, not hope that you can lie and the bank doesn't catch it. It doesn't matter if they catch it at all. You're still breaking the law.
No, you're not, because under the U.S. Constitution, it never specifies that of a bank to be able to evaluate. You're sitting there going on the aspect of banking system and the extortion due process through that of Congress.
So you're saying there is no law that requires, when you're trying to get a loan, that requires you put accurate information down. No law requires that.
No law requires that according to the U.S. Constitution, except the extortion of that of Congress, which you can sit there and state that Congress stated that you have to state financial.
Matt, you do understand that states have laws. The Fed, everything is not constitutionally based. I mean, states have their own law about what they want you to do and what you, because you remember Letitia James is not operating on behalf of the feds. She's operating on behalf of the state.
But that's the problem, is that states as well as the federal government forget the U.S. Constitution and want to sit there and extort it on a aspect of Congress and the Senate.
Yeah, I would say you and I totally disagree on this. I don't think that, based on what you're saying, the states have no right to get involved at all. You can lie with it if it doesn't violate federal law. The states have no say so in it. I don't agree with that at all.
Another person's rights, which if you're talking about that of Trump, he never violated their rights. They were happy with the aspect.
I didn't say he didn't violate anybody's rights. He violated the law. You can drive down the street 10 miles over the limit. There's no victim, but you're violating the law. You don't get to go to court and say, yeah, I was speeding, but there's no victim. You're violating the law.
But the problem is that whenever you're talking about violations of financial aspects, there has to be a victim in the majority of. Yes, there is. Every case in which you're talking about, up until this point, the majority of them have a victim of where they were defrauded.
Okay. All right. We can agree to this. I don't believe there's any law in the books at all that requires there has to be a victim. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but
that's the problem. Is law in itself says for there to be a case, there has to be a victim.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to say I've never heard of that. I do have to move it on though, Matt. I do appreciate you coming on. Absolutely welcome back anytime.
Please.
All right. Moving the program on. And listen, maybe I'm wrong. I've never heard that before. Tammy Green, thank you for the heart. Much love to you as well. We're asking the question flat out. Is President Trump being treated unfairly? Why the hell would we ask that? Sean, thank you. Why would we be asking that? $83.3 million to E. Jean Carroll in a defamation suit. Then less than a couple weeks later, Letitia James, the city of New York, wins another financial judgment against Trump for over $350 million. What we ask, is he being treated unfairly? First of all, obviously in the E. Jean Carroll case, an $83.3 million defamation suit. Some would suggest that there is no way in hell he defamed an average person to the value of $83.3 million. Why is the number so high? And absolutely, that's what we're asking in regards to the judgment for New York yesterday. And what my last caller pointed out was a crime that featured no victims at all, no financial institutions claiming a loss, yet the financial toll to be paid is over $350 million. Now, me and my last caller vehemently disagreed on a host of issues. Nevertheless, I do have to agree with my last caller on one point. There's no precedent for this. There is no precedent for someone being ordered to pay $350+ million when nobody is bitching or complaining. This isn't Bernie Madoff. This isn't Enron. There's no one complaining. Yet he was ordered to pay $350 million. Is President Trump, number 45, being treated unfairly. What say you, going back to the box? We'll make it start. We'll make it happen with JR's Toy World. Tap the screen. Happy Saturday to all you folks. 700 plus of you in here. Get the likes up to around 20,000. I do appreciate that. For you folks on YouTube, understand the program is ran without censorship. So we go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. Folks get to speak. You don't have to agree with the host. Just be prepared to be challenged. JR, good afternoon.
Man, been a while. Been trying to get up in your box for weeks on weeks. I found
that is my number one pickup line to my ex-girlfriend, but keep going.
I'm sure you were successful while she's the ex.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, number one, I think he was made an example of. Number one, he has pushed the envelope, like the last caller has said. We got something that's very unprecedented, and I think Letitia James, she made an example out of him. She made a very costly example out of him.
Did they make an example out of him in a way that he deserved, or did they go above and beyond to the point of it being unfair?
I think they went above and beyond that it went unfair. I think that if whether or not he found liable that he broke these laws and because this was a civil, not a criminal trial, so we got to make sure we understand that. That these are state laws, not federal laws. You've made that very clear. That this attorney wanted to make a name for herself.
Yeah. She
got on the front page of every newspaper from here to wherever, on every internet article you could find, and she put herself out there, and she got the second conviction.
Now I have to respond in regards to the notion that Letitia James was sensationalizing things, like some folks say she ran a campaign on, if I get elected, I'm gonna go after Trump and things like that. It's hard to go after her to some degree because while she was trying to make a name for herself, Trump is all over TV. Trump is all over social media. He's also sensationalizing every one of his cases. He's giving out folks names and phone numbers. He's saying horrible things about the judges. It's not like he is a good guy sitting there being wrongfully treated by everybody while he sits there looking dignified and does not deserve. I mean, he's doing a lot of shit too.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He shot himself both of his feet off.
Wow.
I'm not saying that he's the perfect angel.
Okay.
By no stretch of imagination. I'm not, the tactics that he's used, I'm not validating them. What I am saying is that, people, when they go after big name people, and that's not necessarily just Trump or anybody else, when you got that person with that huge name, and there's no name huger than Trump. I'm sorry, there really isn't right now in America. And you took it to him. Yeah. Self will put you on another platform than probably any of the other peers, and I believe she took full advantage of this platform. Yeah. And she got the largest payout of anybody, unprecedented. Yeah. But again, you're dealing with an unprecedented person too. True. There's no one that's like him.
So let me present it to you this way. Since you suggested that they did make a name, or better yet, they did make an example of him, but you believe that it's possible they went above and beyond. If it came down to you yourself there, JR, and you were sitting on the jury of an appeal, because he is likely to appeal this, assuming he can come up with the money necessary to do so. He appeals it, and you're on the jury, the second jury determining the new amount, because he's going to appeal it. He's probably not going to be deemed innocent of this stuff, but he would be appealing on the grounds of getting that $355 million reduced and E. Jean Carroll's $83.3 million reduced. Would you change those numbers at all?
Wow. Tough question. Yeah, I would definitely sit there and look at and probably change the business amount.
So the 355, would it be an upward modification or a downward modification?
Downward modification.
20% down.
I believe 200 million would be. Virtually what he's going to have to do is sell off a bunch of property. I mean, he can't
Yeah.
do business there in New York. He's gonna. I seriously doubt he has 380 or 355 million plus additional 83 million lying around underneath a mattress.
Well, the man claims he in 2015 when he came down the escalator, unlike Mitt Romney who got hammered for being wealthy, Trump stood his ground and said, "I'm rich. I'm very rich." He claimed at the time to be worth $15 billion. So this wouldn't be much. This is less than $500 million.
Well, we'll see how that turns out when that check. You know, they
Yeah.
gotta make sure you better get 2 forms of ID and a person to vouch for that, because the CFO already got crushed. You know, he's already lying, falsifying documents, so can't get him to liability. And you know, I mean, whoever takes that check better validate those IDs and call the bank up and make sure there ain't insufficient funds going on and that check bounces.
So how do you respond? My last caller, see if you agree or disagree. My last caller was suggesting in regards to the financial case with Letitia James that if no bank took a loss or is filing any complaints or saying that they have any issue with what he did, then it is therefore not a crime. Do you see where maybe he didn't do anything wrong?
Well, I think the argument is that, you know, the banks gave blind trust, and as well as the taxpayer gave blind trust and didn't validate none of the numbers, right? You know, Trump has not been looked at for any fraud activities. Yes, he bankrupted a few casinos, and he's not a very good businessman. But you say that is not a victimless crime per se, but yes, there is, right? The banks gave a very good interest rate that you and I would not get.
True.
Based on the evaluations that you say your property is. So if he inflated it by 50% from 2 billion to 4 billion, well, his interest rate would have been a little bit higher.
True.
He probably would have had to pay a little bit more taxes. He would have had to pay a little bit more out of his pocket, you know, and none of that happened. So
That is very well stated. In other words, all of the investors that took out a loan like Trump did, but told the truth and they paid the correct amount of interest and taxes, they are essentially victims because they were paying more when Trump was getting this benefit. And the taxpayers, obviously, the money lost that he would have had to pay in taxes that he was able to avoid by lying on the document. So I like the way you put it. So there are some victims. They just don't know they're victimized.
yeah, exactly. You know, and I think you got to look. This is over decades, right? This isn't just something that just went down last week or last year or as soon as he left the White House. This is over periods of time we're talking about here. We're talking decades. And you know, if you break it down, what's that? 30 million a year? Let's just say rough number right there, right? I mean,
right.
To Trump and the escalator statement, that's a drop in the bucket for him. You know,
if he's telling the truth. True. If he's telling the truth.
Right. But, you know, to your original question, you know, as far as Eugene Carroll's case is concerned, you remember this is round 2. They only hit him for $5 million.
Right.
And he's the idiot that said, "I'm going to appeal $5 million," and went to the next level and decided to talk some crap. And then, she doubled down on him. And that second jury, not the first jury, the second jury is the one that said, "Oh no, you appealed your first $5 million. Guess what? You're going to give that up plus an additional $78 million."
So let me ask you that then. If you were on this, because he's appealing that $83.3 million to Eugene Carroll, if you were on the jury, would you give a downward modification to that number?
I would have to sit on that jury. I would have to see. You know, I didn't watch the trial. I didn't. You know, I went from.
Wait, hold on. Before you go through that, let me just ask: do you see Eugene Carroll? She's a businesswoman. You know, deep into the elderly years. How could you defame her to the tune of any value of 83? I mean, how do you explain an $83 million judgment against her? I mean, was her reputation that valuable?
No, it was Trump. Again, it's the Trump name.
Yeah.
If I sit there and say, you know, Mr. Handsome, you are the worst TikToker on the planet, and the fact that you call me a more horrible TikToker, I probably wouldn't get $5 from you.
Right. I get it.
You know, but it's Trump. Again, it's Trump. And Eugene Carroll, if you look at his past, he's had so much money that he would just sue people into submission.
Yeah.
This time around, he didn't get that opportunity. His case was dismissed, and she took it to him.
Yeah.
And again, it's a jury, not anyone in particular. It's 12 individuals, or how many was on this jury. It's the one who made the decision twice.
Yeah, it certainly did not go well for him. Certainly with Michael Cohen, one of the insiders that was helping him do this stuff, coming out and testifying against it. But I got to move it on, JR. Certainly appreciate
sir.
it.
I appreciate you letting me on, and you have a good one, my man.
Same to you. Appreciate it. Welcome back anytime you want. All right, looking in the comments real quick on YouTube. We like to read we have a simulcast on YouTube as well. For some reason, things have been working weird here, but I see Dwayne Jones, WWG1WGA, Whiskey Golf 1 Whiskey Golf Alpha. Where we go one, we go all. So it's kind of like the one for all for one statement. It's generally a pseudo war cry to some degree that MAGA often suggests. So where we go one, we go all. How many of you folks think that if for some reason Trump is not reelected due to litigation like we're talking about today, where many folks believe it's a witch hunt or seeking to prevent him from running, there could be some form of civil unrest? How many of you folks, by way of yes or no, believe there could be some civil unrest if the justice system prevents Trump from running? Not talking about if he's voted in or voted out, which that in itself is another argument as well, but if the justice system prevents him from running, yes or no, do you think there could be some civil unrest? Looking in the comments, there's a hell of a lot of folks saying yes and a few saying no. Somebody said it won't last that long. That could be interesting, because the first question I would push back and ask is what stopped it from not lasting very long? Going back to the box, we'll go straight to cottage cheese. Yikes. Good afternoon, Cottage. Welcome to the program. Cottage cheese, are you there? Okay, you got a real loud background. It's louder than you. I can't hear you.
Hang on 1 second there. I got my TV on.
Okay.
I hit the button.
Yeah, I can't hear nothing but your TV. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear. So we're talking about the judgments that President Trump are facing. $83.3 million to Eugene Carroll, and now $355 million that Letitia James has squeezed out the man. Do you see him being treated unfairly at all in this?
I do. Like I say, the only reason I see it is because why would they fight so hard to do one man the way they've been doing this one man since 2016 all the way up to this? It's like they keep looking at every corner and every way. And just like that guy said a little bit ago where nobody was harmed or anything like that and stuff like that, the only thing I see in that is if he went and got a $4 million loan on a $2 million property, he paid interest on $4 million. He didn't pay interest on $2 million. If you went up and got $2 million on a $2 million property, you pay interest on $2 million. So the state did get more interest even if he borrowed more money than what it was worth. Everybody got their money back. Everybody was satisfied. Everybody made money off of it. I just feel like it's like they keep trying to find something on him. And it makes me, a truck driver out of North Carolina, it makes me look like he has done to me, it's in my eyes, everybody else has got their own opinion, but in my eyes, he's done more to benefit than he did to tear down, the country-wise.
Yeah, I get that. I get your point. I'm not here to suggest Trump didn't do a bad job when he was president, or say he did a good job. I'm not necessarily weighing how he was as a commander-in-chief. What I'm simply saying is, when he's in court, and they're trying to try him for a crime or something of that nature, how well he did as commander-in-chief is kind of irrelevant, right?
But what I don't understand is how could they get charges to go against him or file this stuff against him if nobody done it other than that attorney general or whoever it is. Like I say, I'm not into court stuff. I'm not into that. I try to keep my nose clean, stuff like that. I just look at it and it's like, it to me, and I think everybody else that voted for Trump or is going to plan on voting for Trump, stuff like that, they look at it and it's like, if somebody's trying so hard to shut somebody up, then that means whatever they're trying to shut him up for must be real.
Well, but the thing,
If you got a plan,
let me ask it to you this way. Now, we know before Trump was ordered to pay the Letitia James $355 million, he also had an $83.3 million case to E. Jean Carroll. Now, do you think, because you're suggesting that what happened in New York with Letitia James yesterday, there's no victim, why should this happen? In regards to the E. Jean Carroll case, suggesting that he defamed her, do you think there was also a case of there was no victim, he shouldn't have had to pay her $83.3 million? What's your take on that?
I may not exactly see it like that. I just again, I find it hard to, if I live so long and never pay no attention to it or something, but then all of a sudden I step out of the curtains 10 years later or 20 years later and say, hey, back then this happened. That would be no different than you buying a bicycle or you buying something off of me or screwing me over or something, and then 15 years later I come back and say, hey, he went down the street and told everybody I was an idiot for selling him his bicycle for this kind of money.
Yeah, but that would be just like
Simple.
yeah, but think about it. Think about it this way. That would be like the country had bipartisan support on the crime bill that President Biden authored. A hell of a lot of Republicans were in favor of that as well. Now we're in 2024, 30 years later, and everybody is doing exactly what you're talking about. They're popping up, well, that was wrong, and, you should be considered a racist. It was 30 years ago, just like with E. Jean Carroll. So I agree with you. If we want to say something that happened a long time ago should be left in the past, do you believe Joe Biden should get the same credit?
I do. I agree, he should. And just like I don't think if Trump had records on it and stuff, I understand if it was wrong, it was wrong. But I guess I look at it in a way that if you're president and you got records, it's different than if you're a senator and you got records in your garage, because you shouldn't have even had the records outside of where they come from anyhow. That's my biggest thing on that there. It's not saying that neither one's right or wrong, but like you're saying about Biden years ago, that's in the past. We're here. The only reason that stuff about Biden's being drug up is because they're dragging Trump through here, and that's just it's got us where we're solely divided.
But why is
we don't mean to be divided?
Yeah, I agree with you on the division, but if we're going to get over this, why is Trump himself participating in the division? He too is bringing up Biden's.
If you spent your whole life doing some things, and the greatest person of all,
You break it up. Just
stuff like that, and everything you up on a pattern. Oh, sorry, but the signals might be getting bad. But say like you spent your whole life doing certain things, and everybody eats you up and stuff like that, and they had you under their arms and they treated you like somebody and stuff like that. And then now all of a sudden, just because you ran for president and you're doing all this right here now, they trying to drag you through the mud. If you spent your whole life being one place, wouldn't you want to defend that up until the day you die?
Are we talking about Trump or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama? Because they did the same thing you're suggesting.
I'm talking about any of them. I'm talking about any of them.
But that's why I keep asking
I'm
you.
talking about any of them. I don't care if
Right, you're talking about any of them, but that's why I keep asking you the same question is the things you're saying that Trump is a victim of, whereas I've been doing this my whole life and suddenly you're treating me like what I'm doing is you're demonizing me. He did the same thing to both Obama and Clinton. Now he's claiming that he is a victim of the same behavior.
But they done it on a debate stage, mostly the arguing back and forth to each other. He didn't run lawsuits and drag them up, and he himself didn't sue him. The Republican Party didn't drag him up and sue him right from the get-go and stuff like that. There has none of them. You got to
Cottage.
handsome.
Cottage.
I listen to you all the time. None.
Cottage. He said Barack Obama was born in Kenya. That was him doing that. He didn't have to do that. That was him.
Well, but then again, that was on that was what was that during the, like I say, remember I'm just a truck driver. I'm a
Okay,
truck driver.
all right, I'll give you that.
That was during, you know what I'm saying? I don't.
It was cottage. It is okay, cottage. It is okay to say what Trump did was wrong. Barack Obama was already in office. There was no political campaign, and Trump kept hammering him on the grounds saying he should be disqualified because he was born in Kenya. It was a flat out lie. He hasn't apologized. So is he doing the same thing to others that he claims folks are doing to him?
He may have, but did he sue him? Did he take the money from him? Did
No.
he drag him through the mud like he did? Other than just saying that he did that and saying that, it's like okay, I said I've cursed around women. I may have said some unmanly like things around women and stuff like that. That don't make it right, and I ain't saying it makes it right, but it's stuff that happens every day. And
He did more than that, Cottage. He did more than curse around women. He tried to get Obama taken out of the White House. He wanted to have him disqualified as president on the grounds that he wasn't an American national.
I guess that's the way I look at it too. Then is that all right? Two wrongs don't make a right, so they done the same thing to him too, just for him doing that apparently. Okay.
Yeah.
But
he is essentially a victim that he is essentially a victim that formerly victimized people. That's kind of what it sounds like, right?
It's like it happened when it come into the political realm of things.
True.
When it come up to 2016 or 2015, whatever it was, then it all blew up. I mean, I just don't know what to think. I vote for him because I'm literally, as a human being, and I know I see people on here all the time that talk and they go on there and say, oh, go back to your little world and stuff, you little candy ass and blah, blah, blah. You're scared the world's going to come to an end. Literally, dude, look around us. Look at the shit that's going on every day. And I just feel like that it ain't nothing. Joe Biden's been in there 40-some years. I get it, okay? He's been in there all this time. Everybody talks about these college-educated people and all this stuff right here. Look what it's done to this country since 1950 to now. And then somebody's...
Wait, Cottage. I won't censor or limit your time, but understand, I'm a minority. From 1950 to now has been pretty damn good. I don't want to go back before 1950. It sucked.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. But look at everybody's... I don't know. I'm 53 years old.
Okay.
And I can remember when people says, well, when Congress was in there, they went in as $100,000 and some a year or whatever. I don't know the exact number, so anybody on here don't come at me. This is just me talking, but they make a certain amount. But when you go in at $100,000 and some and 2 years later or 4 years later, it's shown that you're a millionaire and you've got properties everywhere and you got all this stuff. Then you look at a man that's got all this stuff and never been in politics. Then he steps into politics, and it's like, all right, I want to know why now that it's been brought to light. I want to know why they keep raising taxes and wanting more money for this and wanting more money for that, because now all of a sudden our education's down, our roads is shit. But everybody in a political office,
Okay.
from us as individuals.
All right, Cottage, I'm going to have to...
But I understand you got time. Thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Go ahead. Your signal's a little bad, but Cottage, you're always welcome back on the program. You got a little bit of a bad signal, but come on back anytime. Folks, real quick, tap the screen. Certainly 700 plus of you in here. Appreciate if you could get the likes up around 35,000. Yeah! Big dog. Thank you for the hat and mustache. So let your thumbs not be lazy. Tap the screen for my TikTok viewers. For those folks that are on YouTube, understand the program runs in an uncensored format. So we do not block, ban, or censor anyone. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are always my preferred guests, so understand that liberals are welcome, but we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. The program goes left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. So I want to give a huge shout out if I can get my screen to work properly. I saw a YouTube viewer there. I want to answer that super chat question. I work in New York City, and almost everyone is saying they will vote for Trump this year. I believe this will be the first time in decades a Republican will win New York State. Wow. And thank you for that super chat. Repair and Support. Love the name, by the way, on YouTube. Thank you. Big super chat. Thank you. In regards to the notion that New York State might go Republican because of the immigration crisis, I got two reasons to push back. Now, first of all, I'll admit, you might be right. There's a hell of a lot of folks that you would typically view as liberals complaining about what's going on with the immigrants in New York. Same thing in Chicago, Denver, and a host of other cities. But two pushbacks. First of all, the replacement of George Santos, Congressman George Santos, the guy that got ousted for all of the fraud that just took place last week, that shows he was replaced by a liberal. Remember, George Santos was a Republican. He got replaced by a liberal in the middle of this immigration crisis. So that, first of all, shows that New York hasn't went that far to the right because they just voted in another liberal. So keep that in mind for the first issue. I promised you two. The second issue is this. Unless you're completely dumbfounded by politics, you would know that the immigration issue or the issue with immigrants in Chicago, New York, Denver, and a host of other sanctuary cities is a manufactured crisis. I'm not going to pretend like there's not a significant problem at the border. I'm not going to pretend like Biden has done a good job at the border. He has not. In my humble opinion, as someone who leans left, I think he's done a terrible job at the border. However, the problem in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, and these other cities is manufactured by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He deliberately funneled a lot of immigrants to these cities to overwhelm them. So that's not a product of Joe Biden. What's going on in those cities is a product of Governor Greg Abbott. And I do believe there's going to be a fair bit of explaining from the mayors in those liberal states about why those folks are all there. They need to be dealt with. The border needs to be fixed, and Biden's doing a poor job at it. But what's going on in those states, particularly New York, is a manufactured crisis at the hands of Governor Greg Abbott. Even with all of the folks that are coming into this country, whether they're seeking asylum or coming here flat out illegally, if Governor Greg Abbott had not did what he did, that problem in New York would not exist. That problem in Chicago would not exist. So that happened because of Greg Abbott. And I do believe that the mayors in those cities, if they're worth their weight in politics, they should be able to explain that. It is what it is, though. You could be right. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Going back to the box. And I appreciate you folks hanging on. I can't read this with my damn shirt on. Well, then they shouldn't have claimed themselves as a sanctuary city. Lisa, I'm not disagreeing with you. I get your point. Listen, we don't want all these folks coming in this country, taking our resources, potentially committing crimes and things like that. But if Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, if you want them, then here you go. And that's what you're stating. And don't claim you're a sanctuary city if you can't handle the immigrants. I'll tell you this, when it comes to the border, Biden and what Governor Greg Abbott is doing, I've said this before, and I'll go right back to the box afterwards. The Republicans could be winning the battle and losing the war. What I mean is, if sending immigrants to sanctuary cities draws attention to the border, perhaps really makes Biden look completely incompetent, maybe gets Trump reelected, that's winning the battle. When I suggest losing the war, the way it's being done, you're going to have a hell of a lot of Hispanics in this country, very similar to 1960s African Americans, choosing to automatically vote Democrat without even weighing the issues because of how they were being treated. You don't think the way Republicans are treating some of these folks, particularly Governor Greg Abbott, where he's doing some inhumane shit, sending them to cold climates without even having clothes to wear, you don't think that the ones who do get to stay in this country And make no mistake about it, 20, 30 million immigrants, they're not all going back. Even if Trump gets elected, they're not all going back. Even with his promise to have the largest deportation in U.S. history, they're not all going to go back. Yet, we know what Trump is promising. We know what the Republicans favor. That's going to lead generations, at least a few generations, of descendants of these folks that get to stay in this country to really despise the Republican Party. I'm just going to tell you, winning the battle, but you could be losing a war on that. So you could have Republicans down the line trying to repair their relationship with Hispanics from those countries. All right, look it in the comment. But hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Looking in the comments, or better yet, going back to the box. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. We should be around 50,000. Some lazy thumbs in here. Happy Saturday. You could be anywhere you want to be. Do appreciate the fact that you're here with yours truly. For you folks on YouTube, understand, we run an uncensored program. If you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host blocking or banning or trying to censor you, you're in the right place. Feel free to smash that like button, a subscription if this is what you like, what you enjoy. Going back to the box, we'll go to Jeff Fana. Good afternoon, Jeff. Is Trump being treated unfairly? 355 mil on top of 83.6. Jeff, good afternoon. What say you? Jeff says sleeping Jeff. Okay. Wow, that's occasionally that happens. Wow. Caller that was completely knocked the fuck out. All right. It happens. Listen, there's folks waiting to get on, so it certainly does happen. But Jeff, if you ever wake up, understand you are welcome back. John Bassar. Good afternoon, John. Was Sleepy Joe Biden? Did we get? Was that a Joe Biden call? John, good afternoon.
How are you, mate?
Hey.
It's always a pleasure to speak to you.
Same. That accent, once again. Australia.
Australia.
Okay.
Australia.
And I'm a former. I used to live in Brisbane, Cooperoo, Kangaroo Point, Highgate Hill. So I also lived in Mount Annan outside of Sydney. So I am a little bit familiar with your country. So,
Mate, I know you've been here because you know how to say Brisbane.
Oh,
You
okay.
know how to say it right.
Okay.
You said it perfect.
Okay, I could have said Briz Vegas too. Some of us call it Brizzy. So
Brizzy Vegas, yes, you can get away with all those.
yeah.
But most Americans say Brisbane, which is not how you say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
So let me ask you a question, because I'm gonna take it a little bit different, because you're on the outside looking in, obviously. How do you folks view our two potential rematch candidates, Joe Biden versus President Trump? How do you folks view who could be what we call the leader of the free world? You guys follow a lot of our politics. What do Aussies think about this?
Well, the Aussies, we had Murdoch. Remember, we had Murdoch first, then he went to America, became an American citizen, and then ran Fox and all that. You can have him, you can keep him. We don't want him.
Now you're
right?
talking about Rupert Murdoch, the head of Fox News.
News Corp.
Yeah.
Yeah, News Corp, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so we have a slanted, there is slanted right-wing media in Australia that are going on about all these things that's going on. I can assure you, Australians don't have a really good comfort level with Trump. His first conversation with our Prime Minister, when he was congratulating him, was to renege on all agreements that America had with Australia.
Damn. Wow. I didn't know that.
His first conversation. His first conversation with one of the longest serving allies in the Pacific, right?
Right.
Was to tell us, go to hell, we're not doing anything, we're not agreeing to anything. He's not doing anything.
Wow. Now Trump, basically, now I didn't know that in that case with Australia, but Trump certainly got us out of a lot of deals from the Paris Accord. He threatened NAFTA, NATO. He didn't like the World Health Organization, even our own local organizations like the FDA, the CDC. Trump was indeed a fan of breaking the Iran deal. Is another one. He did break just about every deal America's ever got involved in. So Australia, what you're saying is, the Australian leadership is not big fans of Trump. How do they feel about Biden?
They have no issue with Biden.
Wow.
Because as soon as Biden took over, he agreed with everything before. Because what people forget is, in Australia, we have over 10,000 members of your military forces in Australia.
Yeah.
Because we have 2 secret bases in Australia that is for satellite and information collection. One of them is Pine Gap. The other one is in Western Australia, which has it's just named RAF, whatever, but it's a combined thing. So we're in bed with you guys very thick.
Yeah.
And for him to say those sort of things, but the worst part was, our Prime Minister kept numb about it. He didn't want to say anything about it. He just wanted to leave it. He was a Conservative Prime Minister. He was a Conservative Prime Minister. But he felt
Betrayed.
that Trump had overreacted
Betrayed.
not to say anything. He didn't want to say anything. It was Trump's people that put it out.
No, I want to get off Trump just for a little bit, because I want to ask you some issues that pertain to us as well. One of my commenters on YouTube stated that Trump was not big fans of Australia because your country is socialist. Now, I lived there for 5 years, but I want you to tackle that question. How do you respond to folks that might suggest Australia is a socialist country?
It's not.
That's the best answer.
It's not. And the difference is we have a different belief in about looking after each other. You look after your mates. You look after your family. You look after. It's part of our culture, right?
Yeah.
It's part, and also we have a culture of against the authorities. We were all convicts to start off with, so we didn't really like the bosses and people in charge, right?
So, fair enough. Let me ask you another one that would really pertain to my audience. Now, you guys do not have gun rights. We have what we call the Second Amendment in our Constitution that allows citizens, as long as they're within legal standing. I would say as long as they're not mentally ill, but that's bullshit. You can be pretty fucking crazy and still get a gun. But as long as you are legally, on the right side of the law, you can get a fair bit of weaponry in the United States. Now, you guys lost your gun rights, I believe was it 96 after a mass shooting. How does Australia feel after losing their gun rights? How does the typical citizen? I mean, because there are some shootings.
We haven't lost our gun rights. Any Australian who is mentally capable and has no criminal convictions can have a gun. But it's highly regulated. It's very highly regulated. So the weapon has to be regulated. So it has to be a registered weapon. It also has to be, you have to prove that you have a secure location, i.e. gun safe, for a pew safe, for storage of it. And 3, you are then licensed to have a gun. So you get your license to have a gun. You have to pass the medical criteria that you not have a mental health issues, which means a doctor has to sign off on that. The other part is you have to declare all your criminal activity, and any time you've involved a crime with a gun, you no longer have a right to have a gun in Australia. What
about types of guns? If you wanted an M16, an AR-15, an AK-47?
No. There is no. That is what our gun laws brought in. No semi-automatic.
Wait. You said no. You said no semi-automatic. So you're talking about like Glock pistols and 911. You can't get it.
You can have semi-automatic rifles.
Okay.
We allow. There's a limited amount of that it can hold in a chamber. So, For instance, I'm not quite sure. I'm not specific, but I think it's about 6 or 8 rounds could be in the cartridge. Any extra large cartridges, they're illegal. All that, all that sort of stuff. Also, they have to be semi-automatic. They can't be they can't be converted to automatic. So that police are allowed to have automatic weapons. Army's allowed to have automatic, but no one in the public. A security guard can have a Glock, and he could also have a shotgun. They're legally allowed to carry it, and they're highly restricted of who can. But the thing that will never work, which works in Australia, and if you hold a gun license and a registered gun in your premises, the police do not need a warrant to enter the premises to check that thing, right? So when you take on the responsibility of a gun, you also have the responsibility.
Wait. Let me make sure I'm getting this clear. If you own a gun in Australia, part of the condition is the police now have the right to come into your home without any reason.
No. They're allowed to come in to do an inspection on that weapon without a warrant.
That's the same thing, because once they're in your house, they're looking around. If they see anything, if you happen to have a couple keys of smack on the table.
Once they're in the premises, they can do whatever they like.
Yeah.
But they still have to knock on the door, and they have to acknowledge why they're there, and they can't just do a ram raid and do it. That's not legal. What's legal is they can at any time. So what happens is if you have guns and you have a domestic violence issue, the first thing the police will be told over the radio is this is a registered gun owner, right?
Okay.
So they come a little bit better prepared, maybe, right? And then the first thing they do is they secure the guns.
I'm going to tell you right off the bat, John, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, on both of my platforms, folks are calling that communism on YouTube and here on TikTok.
Because it's not communism, mate. This is the thing that Americans throw around. What is communism? Communism is fascism is about authority. Communism is about authority. They're both the same thing. But in Australia, we say it's a right to have a gun. You've got a right to have a gun, but you've got obligations that you must address.
Okay.
Right? So if you're on a farm and you've got you can't drive around with a gun hanging on the back of your window. It has to be secured in the boot of the car. The ammunition has to be in the car. So it can't even be together. The ammunition and the gun have to be separated in the vehicle.
Now, I got one other question, but I do got to move it on. You're an interesting caller. Certainly anytime, come on back through. But last question I want to ask you. On YouTube, I was told to ask you about COVID camps. During the pandemic, the worldwide pandemic dealing with the coronavirus, folks are suggesting that individuals in your country that did not want to be vaccinated were ushered away by the government. What happened during that period?
Once again, right-wing MAGA bullshit. Yes, we did have... and what's her name? Candace Owens went on and on and on about it. We did have...
Candace Owens? You watch Candace Owens?
Yeah, I watch everything, mate. I've been watching politics since Bill Clinton
Okay.
and Monica Lewinsky, right? I've been around a long time.
Good on you. Good on you. I like that.
What happens is we put them into hotels, right? If you came into Australia, you've got to remember, if you come into Australia, we quarantine you for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we're an island. We can turn off the taps. We can say you can't come into Australia, and that's what they did. Okay. So what happened was we did have internment camps in the Northern Territory, which is a desert area, right?
Okay.
They had a massive big workers complex of all these portable buildings and what have you that was vacant. And what happened was you flew into Darwin.
Thank you.
They put you on a bus. They took you to this workers camp. and had a big fence around it for security reasons, not to lock people in. It was to lock people
That's
out.
that's
right?
pretty draconian compared to America. So what if I'm a citizen of Australia and I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with this vax. I believe it's going to make me start attracting magnets or glow in the dark or pass away. If I don't want to get the vax as an Australian citizen, what would they do?
You didn't have to.
I can still work and navigate throughout
Right.
the country as normal.
No, there was a mandate that you had to have the vaccination to go back to work.
Andy. Okay. Oh, so every employee in the country had to be vaccinated to work.
For a period of time, it was a minimum requirement. Yes.
Wow. All right, I do got to move. Unfortunately, I do got to move it on. Go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
No, I'm not trying to give you the last word, but I want to clarify this. If you chose not to, right, and refused to, you could claim COVID money.
So you can get paid.
To stay home.
So you can refuse to get vaxxed, which means you can't work, but then they would give you money to stay home.
That's right.
I'm moving back. I gotta go, John. I gotta go. You're making me miss it too much. Listen, seriously though, you are a very, very interesting guest. Certainly makes me miss living there, and you can give a lot of perspective on the fact that there are other countries that survive outside of the American way. Anytime my door is open and you come on back through, John.
Mate, I've spoken to you at least half a dozen times, by the way. I love speaking to you.
And it's a pleasure.
I love speaking to you.
Same to you.
Another thing I want to say is,
Real quick, go.
yesterday you had a mad jumper on. Today you got another mad jumper. I actually went online looking for your jumper.
This here?
Yeah, your jumper.
Well, I got it from a little. I got it from a little
One
boot.
you had on yesterday.
Oh,
I
wow.
liked that. Took a photo of your screen and I went looking for it. I couldn't find it,
Wow.
but I liked it.
All right, appreciate it. I'll talk about it on the other side.
Appreciation of style, brother. I like it, and I like this jumper too. I'll be looking for this one as well.
Thank you,
Where'd
thank
you
you,
get it?
thank you. Appreciate it. By the way, this came from a boutique in Chicago. I don't know how it's. I think it's Turkish. It's made in Turkey or something like that. Oddly enough, and I'll go right back to the box. That was what I used to do when I was in Australia. Opened up a clothing store and sold American clothing in Campbelltown, New South Wales, because they do not have access to a lot of our apparel. Because, as he pointed out, they are an island. Andy, absolutely thank you over and over again for your generosity. Speaking of which, that's who we're going to. Love the last call, by the way. Hang on a second, Andy. Real quick for you folks on YouTube, certainly if you enjoy Civilized Dialogue from both sides of the aisle, I'm certainly trying to get the YouTube channel, somewhat competitive as well. So feel free to smash that like button. If this Civilized Dialogue from both sides of the aisle without censorship is something you favor, a subscription would be nice. So that's what I'm talking to in regards to my YouTube audience. Andy, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, so Trump getting hit back to back, 83.3 million to E. Jean Carroll. Now Letitia James scores a $355 million goal. Do you think that he's being treated unfairly with these historic judgments?
Well, first you got the first one wrong. It's 88 million.
Well, you're talking about the five. You're talking about the additional five.
So if he'd have kept his mouth shut after the first five, he wouldn't have that rest of that.
True.
So that's on him.
Okay, but before we go to the Letitia James case, the 5 million, then the 83.3 that you're rightfully pointing out, I'm agreeing with you that the guy didn't keep his mouth shut. But what we're questioning is, did it justify 83.3 million on the second go round? Or is that unfair?
When the judge told him to be quiet, everybody in the world told him to quit defaming her, and he still did it, we would all be in jail for contempt of court.
Okay. Then why not another 5 or 10 million? Why 83?
I don't know. That's what the court decided. I wasn't on the jury. Wasn't my decision.
Okay. So, but you don't necessarily see it as unfair. You see it that he wouldn't shut the hell up.
Exactly.
Okay. 350,
I mean,
355.
Look what Rudy Giuliani had to give and
Ruby Freeman.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, those kind of cases happen all the time. It's nothing new.
All right. So 355
I'm not
million.
gonna lie, I've had so much fun playing dress up with you with the little things. That was so much fun.
Hey, listen, anytime somebody show love to the program, I absolutely appreciate it. Andy, certainly. I got the glasses. Folks who sit in hats and mustaches and shit like that, it helps the program out.
And I took
Absolutely.
pictures.
Thank you. Huh?
I took pictures.
Oh, my God. Those will come back to bite me one day if I ever, make something of it. Here's a picture of you back in the day when I gave you a hat and mustache. Hey, look. Thank you for sure. So 355 mil, was that an unfair judgment?
Like I said, he bragged before he got done that he did that with his buildings. One of his buildings is missing an entire floor. I mean, if you looked into Trump buildings, I mean, come on now. And the man's got, if you're going to say something's this many square feet, it really needs to be that many square feet. And if you're going to brag about it, once again, that's on you.
But I got one of my guests on YouTube said that only happens in corrupt New York. So if let's say this lawsuit happened in
everywhere.
You think a Florida or a Texas judge would have did the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Fraud, yeah.
Okay. 300.
Because fraud, I keep hearing victimless crime. No, those kind of things make banks go under and hurt the people that put money in the bank.
But the banks seem happy, Andy. The banks seem very happy.
Well, I'm not saying the bank's not crooked. Trump did sign a law that said that they could do whatever they wanted to right after he got in office. After, Obama put a law in place so we wouldn't have another bank failure. And then 1 year into the office, what does he do? He rescinds that, lets the banks do whatever they want to. And I'm real curious, how did he pay off all these hundreds of millions of dollars in debt he was in while he was in office, not taking a check?
The man came to power, said he was worth $15 billion, Andy. That's not a lot of money.
He owed Deutsche Bank $900 million, and he got it down to $400 million when he was in office. He was $400 million in office in debt when he went in office. What are y'all talking about?
You're saying that when Trump became wait. You're saying that when Trump became president, as opposed to being worth $15 million, like you said, you said he was actually $900 million in debt.
Well, he was $400 million in debt. He was originally $900. He got it down to $400 million.
Why would he not take a salary if he was that far in debt? I don't know if that makes sense.
Because MAGA believes everything he damn says, whether it's true or not.
So you
just follow along.
So you believe
We need a border wall.
So you well, you know that.
Not like it wasn't being built.
Yeah, but when it comes to the border wall, if Trump had his own way, that wall would have been built. A lot of that was Democratic resistance. He would have built that wall.
No, you're not listening to me. The wall has had a budget since 2009 under the Fence Act. Obama built wall. He was known as the deporter-in-chief. That wall's been being built since 2009, right after 9/11. What are y'all talking about?
So you're saying the Democrats were totally in favor of building the same wall that Trump wanted?
I'm saying they were already building the same wall Trump was talking about.
So, but
some of it's Obama's wall. Some of it's replacement wall that he put up.
You do realize Biden let the supplies for the wall, just for the most part, get scrapped. I don't know if Biden was pro-wall like you're saying.
He went back to building the wall because that's what the money was allocated for, and he had no choice. So he went back to building wall like he was supposed to. I don't know where they get this nonsense from, but the wall has had a budget since 2009.
So why is the border? So why is folks saying the border is so screwed up if you make it sound like there's a wall and all of this stuff?
Well, let's see. His own caravan went down there and said they were disappointed. Not many people were crossing as they thought. We've had 2 or 3 TikTokers on the left drive down there and show us Eagle Pass. I don't know if you did that or not.
No. Well, but yeah. I mean, as an over-the-road driver.
These 3 on the left that are driven down there during the middle of the day and just
yeah, but you also keep in mind, as an over-the-road driver, I've been down to the border numerous times. There's a lot more than Eagle Pass. Everything from El Paso to Brownsville, Laredo and McAllen.
They keep talking about Eagle Pass, so that's where everybody went. I'm just saying.
Okay, fair enough.
But like the pictures they showed, a magazine showed a picture of that same group of people in 2016, and it was the same caravan that was supposed to be coming last time. The pictures are identical. They even showed the circles of 3 guys wearing the same yellow shirts.
So what are you? So are you saying that perhaps they're inflating the numbers of folks that are coming here and making it sound worse than it is?
Mm-hmm.
So then, where are all of these folks that are in Chicago, New York, and where are they coming from if there's no major
Asylum
issues?
seekers, and we both know they're coming from Central America that we destabilized. Maybe if we wouldn't go around destabilizing countries, they wouldn't want to come here. And on top of that, maybe if we quit letting all those weapons flow into Mexico, Mexico would be a decent place to live because you're supposed to buy Mexican guns in Mexico the same way you do in Australia. But since they're all over our border, they just flow through like water. And we're a border problem for Mexico. They want us to keep our guns on our side of the border.
So I think I may have asked you this before, but I want to make sure I can understand this clearly. So when it comes to the border, and we're looking at Biden is almost completing his own presidency. I mean, Biden has maybe 10 months left in office if he doesn't get reelected. Trump's did 4 years already. Do you see any difference on how the two gentlemen handled the border? Did one do a better job than the other? They did an equal job, or one did worse? What do you see in regards
I
to
think
the...
it's about equal, considering the fact that, like Biden just gave them that standalone package they wanted, wrapped it up in a bow, said, you want it standalone? We'll give it to you. What do Republicans do? Nope. So if Republicans can impeach Mayorkas for waiting all that time, and they won't take the border package, which gives them everything they asked for, and the Democrats took out DACA, they took out everything they wanted, and made it a standalone package, and the Republicans still said no. I'm sorry. Are we going to impeach them now because they're waiting to the end of the election? Because that's about the same time they waited for Mayorkas. So, I mean, are we going to impeach them too? What's the deal here?
So then let me ask you a question that came on YouTube. And if what do you recommend now? A tough pill to swallow says my town, didn't name the town, but says my town is overrun with migrants. I'm not even a border state. What do you hope or suggest our president, whether it's Trump or Biden, do about something like that? There's a lot of folks that are saying the same thing as that person.
I suggest if they don't live on the border, I don't believe them.
Come on, Andy, there's pictures.
I live in Alabama. Florida's right below me. For all these migrants they say they're having, I don't see them rushing across the border into Alabama. I mean, what the?
Andy, you said if the individuals complaining do not live on the border, you don't believe they have a border issue. Andy, there's a lot of video.
Do they believe? Wait. Do they believe me on a lot of things? I'm entitled to disagree with them. We don't have to have the same opinion.
You're gonna disagree with actual video footage?
Wait, when was the video footage shot?
The mayor of New York is on television saying he's being overrun by immigrants.
Hold on. Whoa. If Abbott and DeSantis weren't human trafficking migrants across the country and keeping the money the federal government gives to them to take care of these migrants and not giving it to the states, aren't they robbing the United States as well as human trafficking and taking these people away from their court dates where they're supposed to be? I'm sorry. That's a Republican problem that they created.
Okay, so if someone lives in a liberal city like Chicago or New York, and they're saying
if the federal government is giving them money for asylum seekers and they are shipping them across the country away from their court dates and keeping the money, they're embezzling U.S. dollars and human trafficking. That's just the way it is.
So when you
I'd go to jail.
So we both know, as you mentioned, going to jail. Embezzling is a crime. Are you saying that Governor Abbott should be brought up on charges for sending these folks places?
Yeah. No, I think Governor Abbott should be brought up on charges for letting Ken Paxton get away with disenfranchising 2.5 million votes in Harris County and then paying the Supreme Court $3 million to let him get away with it. That's what I think he should be brought up on charges for, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, but it's a strong opinion, damn. So you're no fan of Governor Greg Abbott of Texas at all. All right.
Well, no, I mean, look, he knows the border. He was causing an international incident, and to call all of our National Guards over there for what your own caravan said was nobody there, hardly, that's what they were disappointed. Hell, they got done, they were fighting among themselves, baptizing themselves in the name of Trump, all kind of crazy stuff.
Wait. You said,
California Trump supporters.
Wait a minute. You said
he could not be from
You said-
California.
you said somebody is baptizing themselves in the name of. You got to be making that up.
No, wait. Do you know? No, I'm not. Do you know who sent the caravan?
No.
That is one of the Reawakening tour from Michael Flynn, one of his little underlings, running the Army of God, who went down. So of course they were baptizing in the name of Trump. Are you kidding?
Oh my God. All right, Andy. All
Oh,
right.
but the funniest part was because they were so bored. The guy that came, that was a California Trump supporter, they beat him up because he was from California, was throwing rocks at him, saying he couldn't be a Trump supporter because he came from the wrong state.
Well, last question I want to ask you before I move it on. If you are an immigrant in this country, whether you're seeking asylum or however you're in this country, and you get arrested for robbery, maybe beating up a New York police
Get
officer.
out of the country and make it where you can't come back in.
All right. So how do you view the liberal cities giving these folks bail?
I'd have to go read up on it. I'm not going to speak on something I don't know.
All right, Andy. You drive a hard bargain. Appreciate you coming on.
I'm not a Republican. I don't sit here and talk about things I have no idea of. What are you talking about? Have a good day, Tim.
All right. It's a
By the way,
pleasure.
Thanks for stopping by the other day.
Huh?
Thanks for stopping by the other
Yeah,
day.
you know, it was late and I was in it because I saw you folks say, come on. I was just waking up to piss in the middle of the night. I'm like, I can't come on live. But I do appreciate the invite. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right. And that's how the program is ran, folks. So understand we go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. It's never about trying to dictate how you should think. It's all about hearing what you have to say. We do not talk down to guests, regardless of what their opinion is. I get folks that challenge me all the time, tell me I don't know a damn thing from Adam. I welcome all the comments. At the end of the day, it's not about telling you I know more than you or you know less than me. It's about us having a civilized conversation, regardless of what side of the hour you're on. So if that is what you favor, feel free to smash that like button on TikTok, subscription if you will. Same on TikTok, or better yet on YouTube. On TikTok, feel free to smash the screen without breaking your device. Get your boy up to 70,000 and the likes, over 600 of you in here. 100 plus nations. I don't quite get that comment there on TikTok. Why can't Republicans let folks come like their parents did? Well, a lot of folks believe that you can only take so many folks at once. You can't have an infinite number. A lot of folks believe that if you don't control who's coming in your country, there's no way to know who is in your country. In the age of terrorism and a hell of a lot of military conflicts where America's constantly intervening with overseas issues, it's a lot of countries that would love to have folks, boots on the ground in this country, sleeper cells, so to speak, that could wreak havoc. Think October 7th in Israel. So a lot of folks believe that you just can't let everybody in without vetting folks. That's a legitimate point to make. So yeah, even though I agree with your point, listen, your ancestors came here, different time, different day and age. People didn't go to a country and then set off explosives. That didn't happen like it is likely or possible or could happen now. So there's a different day and age, but I do appreciate your comment. Going back to the box, appreciate those folks on TikTok that are indeed tapping the screen. 75,000 likes is possible if you let your thumbs not be lazy. Going back into the box, we'll go straight to Top Hat. Trump getting hit with nearly $500 million in federal judgments. Are they being unfair to number 45? Are they being unfair to President Trump with these big ass judgments? We'll give a moment for Top Hat to come up in the box. It looks like we're having a little bit of trouble. If so, we'll move the program on. Looking in the comments on YouTube, a tough pill to swallow says, doubt it. You doubt that Trump is being treated unfairly. Okay, all right. I didn't expect that, but we'll move it on. What does that say? They got SSI and SNAP, which is available in my state. Their court dates are put off until 2031. If that is true, that is awful. The suggestion is that the immigrants coming in this country have already began receiving SSI, SNAP, welfare, food stamp benefits, of course, and that they don't have a court date to prove their asylum claims until some 7 years later. Obviously, 7 years later, they may have American children that have citizenship by birth. They may be in a long-term marriage. 7 years is a long-term marriage. They may be in a long-term marriage to an American. Let me be honest with you. Let me be flat out honest with you. If I was living in America, let's say during the time of slavery where you could escape to Canada or something, and I went up there and I wanted to plead asylum and I was dealing with a country like America, I would try to knock somebody up. Whatever it took to not go back to a horrible country. So if that is the case where they got a court date 7 years out, it's going to be a hell of a lot of those dudes going to show up. Those military-aged male men that we know are not normally favored when it comes to migrating to a country. Well, I'm a father. I got 3 kids. That's certainly going to come up. Going back to the box. Wow, I didn't know. 7 years. I'd have to look it up. I'm not going to automatically say I believe it, but I certainly cannot discount it. That's a long-ass court date. Cheeky Chop says, handsome, straight, pimping. Damn right if I'm dealing with either going home and being a slave or living in a free country. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. Fact is, you would too, whoever you may be. Blunt, 9, what is that? Well, wait a minute. Noah Thomas, I think I hit. I don't know what my last caller, but we will move the program on. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Noah Thomas, good afternoon.
What's up, man?
Not much at all. So what do you think? Trump getting hit with all these big-ass judgments. Is he being treated unfairly?
No, I think Trump made his bed and he got laid in it.
Elaborate. How did he make his bed to the tune of a $455 million comforter set?
Well, the first case was that E. Jean Carroll lady.
83. You think the defamation of E. Jean Carroll's worth $83.3 million?
That's up to the judge and the jury, whoever decided that on discretion.
Okay, but
I can't say how much the amount would be. I just know if he had to just shut his mouth and stop attacking that woman or whatever he was doing, then that wouldn't have happened.
yeah, but he still could be wrong and then also be treated wrong. I mean, both things can happen at once. You don't believe, so you think it may be possible that what he was ordered to pay is correct, that he deserved $83.3 million judged against him.
Well, yeah. I mean, who's to decide how much it is? Like, whether it's $1 million or $90 million, what's the difference? It's still a fine. And if he had, like I said, if he hadn't done what he did, it wouldn't happen. Now, Trump's not a victim. I don't know, a lot of people think that he is. I don't think I'm trying to figure out now, how does a man escape 91 charges? It is possible that some of these charges are politically motivated. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. But I don't see 91 all being politically motivated. It's not likely.
So when you say some of them, though, is it possible, like a lot of my beloved MAGA would suggest, that they're coming after Trump simply because they don't want him to be president again?
Well, of course. That's. I mean, you'll be a fool to believe that's not the case. Out of 91.
How is that not a, if they're coming after the guy with legal wranglings to stop him from being in office, how is that not a miscarriage of justice?
I didn't say it was. I'm saying that he caused his own problem. So some of these charges might be motivated by the one for him not to be in office. I'm not saying he didn't do nothing wrong. I'm saying some of these charges out of the 91 can be construed as other things besides him doing something. That's yet to be seen, you know.
Okay, so what about the notion that in the Letitia James case, talking 350 plus million he was ordered to pay, that there are allegedly no victims, the banks are happy, and the banks even made interest off the money they lent him. 355 million when nobody is crying out that they lost a dime dealing with him. What say you?
That sounds maybe
excessive,
a little crazy.
Excessive.
Yeah, if there was no victim, because I don't really know the details. Like the other woman said, I don't speak on stuff I don't know about. But if there was no victim, it is funny how is he ordered to pay so much money?
Yeah.
You know, if the man did something wrong, that's different. But if he didn't do nothing wrong, why does he need to pay all this money?
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you a question. I asked one of my previous callers. If you were sitting, because he's going to appeal it, guaranteed he's going to appeal it if he can present the bond that's required to file an appeal, which many believe he'll be able to do. So if he appeals it, if you know I was sitting on the jury of the appeals jury, where you get to look at what they did to him in the lower court at $355 million, would you raise that amount, a downward modification, or leave it the same?
If I was a jury and I looked at the evidence and I didn't see anything on any victims, no banks, if they got their money back, then it's because I don't like the guy doesn't mean he did something wrong. Okay. Now if he did screw these banks over and they lost money as a result, then he needs to pay for that. But if he didn't, then they shouldn't be doing that to him. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm just standing up for what's right and what's wrong. You know,
I
if
like
he didn't
that.
do nothing wrong, then you have, that is, he shouldn't be paying that.
Yeah. Well, I will say this in regards to him not doing anything wrong. It is a crime to falsify records. So I'm not going to say he didn't do anything wrong, but it is possible to commit a crime where no one is injured, such as speeding, such as prostitution, such as purchasing drugs. You can commit crimes where there are no victims. If I go buy, a bag of smack from Pookie down the street, there's no victims. I got high, he got paid. So you can commit crimes without victims. So he committed a crime likely, but 355. So you would lower that down.
Like I said, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. You can know everything, but what you can prove are two different things.
Yeah.
Now, if there ain't no victims, it's because you know he did something wrong. If you can't prove he did something wrong, then that's different.
Okay. Well, I think they were able to prove that he evaluated and devaluated his financial worth, the size of his properties. As my last caller said, he actually had a building that was missing a whole damn floor. He didn't tell the truth on the documents. I don't think that's really up for debate. He didn't tell the truth. Folks are just saying, even though he lied, nobody was injured financially. Therefore, he shouldn't have to pay as much as they're saying.
Okay, so the money is paid because he's lied or because there was victims?
Because it's a crime. Because year after year after year, I'll give you an example. If you lie on your taxes, and even if you pay the money back, I believe Hunter Biden is dealing with this. If you lie on your taxes, even if you pay the money back, the fact is that lie was a crime. There's no victims if you pay the money back, but the fact that you lied is a crime.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, if there were no victims, and then the bank got their money, but he still lied about the application and the square footage of these buildings, then the 350 seems kind of excessive.
Yeah.
Because you really charging him because he lied on these applications. But if the banks weren't harmed in terms of their out money, then that right there is different.
Yeah.
It's like, if he screwed y'all over for $350 million, then he need to pay that money.
Yeah. But that didn't happen because you would have heard from him. So let me ask you this, because you said you were not a Trump supporter. What do you think America would be like if he does win in November?
Well, I think people need to educate themselves on Project 2025 and Agenda 47. It has an agenda for a Republican candidate. Now, Trump individually is named in Agenda 47. Project 2025 is for any Republican or president that gets in office.
Okay. And what do you fear from Project? I mean, I know some of what Project 2025 is about. Some would say it's a conspiracy. Others believe it to be true, like what you're saying. You think Trump would be... Because Trump is a populist. He's not necessarily a Republican. He kind of is his own... He is his own entity. Do you think Trump would allow that activity to take place that's in that proposition?
Well, I think Trump wants to rule. I don't really think he cares about the people so much as what he likes. He likes power. Mm. He wants to stay rich, keep his friends rich, and everybody else, later for you. That's what he wants.
So you don't see Trump as a president that actually cares about the country and the American people. You see him more as caring about himself.
I think he's an opportunist. he does what he was in his own best interest, not for necessarily for the right, for the left. I think he does what he wants to do, what he thinks what's best for him.
Wow.
I mean, he ran as a Democrat, and they didn't. Back in the early 2000s, he wasn't accepted. Then he decided to run Republicans because he figured he can get nominated. Elected, and he did.
Wow. Strong
So
stuff. That is true. He certainly did state he identifies as a Democrat before, later came back, ran as a Republican. Even talked about liking uneducated Republicans. He has quotes of saying that the economy favors Democrats. The economy does well under Democrats. So without bashing or favoring Trump, what you're saying is true. There's video of what you are stating. There's video to validate that. But no, I do got to move it on. I appreciate that. Wow. I don't, strong opinions on some of that. The Project 2025, you believe that if Trump is elected, before I let you go, you do believe democracy would be in danger.
I really do. People, now listen, this Project 2025 is a whole lot of pages. It's like 920 pages. We already know people are not going to read that, so all you got to do is just Google Project 2025, and there's a summary that's like maybe 2 paragraphs. The last sentence of that summary, it says authoritarian government.
Wow.
And those 2 words is all you should need to hear.
Fair enough. Frightening stuff. Noah, welcome back anytime.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Hey, you too. All right, looking in the comments, someone, in reference to my last caller, someone stated on YouTube to prove he is not for the American people. Flat out, that was a Trump girl. The instant response would be, you can't prove that. You cannot prove that, because there are folks who believe that George Washington was for the American people. Well, hell, I'm an American person. You think he was for me? If he's for your issues and for what you want the country, the direction you want the country to go, then he is for you. There's other folks who are going to disagree. So you cannot prove that Trump or Biden is not for the American people, because there are going to be Americans that favor or dislike the direction they're taking the country in. Both of them. There's going to be people that feel that way. Looking in the comments, Fanny got laid. Wade got paid. Taxpayers got played. I like to rhyme. Fannie Willis, this is referencing down there in Fulton County, Georgia. In my opinion, despite the woman's incredible accomplishments and her credentials, Fannie Willis, she should have had more whereabouts to not have her boyfriend involved in that issue. I mean, she's literally, dealing with what could be the case of the century. To have some guy that you're having an affair with, where his wife or his, you're the mistress, essentially. Fannie Willis sounded like she was the mistress or the new girlfriend or whatever, and the ex blew the, it's a mess. It's a mess, and that doesn't exonerate Trump. That doesn't mean that the fake electors case coming out of Georgia, where Republicans were trying to steal the electoral college votes of Georgia, doesn't mean that didn't happen. It just means Trump and those electors, Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows, remember the whole 9 of them or whatever, the girl with the smiling mugshot. It just means that they may be prosecuted by someone who themselves has questionable credibility. But if I'm prosecuting you and I have questionable credibility, that don't mean you're innocent. Maybe I'm just the wrong guy to pursue the case. So we'll see what happens. But many would suggest that is kind of meaningless or irrelevant to some degree. I'm not here to say yay or nay on that, but that's how a lot of folks feel. We'll see how it comes out. Obviously, we're talking about other cases. Trump has... I'll go back to the box, and appreciate you guys tapping the screen. TikTok, 600, nearly 700 of you in here. Let your thumbs not be lazy. We can almost get up to 100,000 if you do. My YouTubers, feel free to smash that like button, a subscription if you will. Trump's cases. Have you ever driven near an airport at night, a busy airport? Think DFW or John Wayne or LaGuardia or O'Hare, and you see the lights of planes on final approach coming in the land. You see them all lighted up in the sky. That's literally similar to Trump's judicial cases. It's like the minute a plane lands, there is another one on final approach. March 25th, paying off Stormy Daniels. That case, jury selection for that case begins. That plane is on final approach. Obviously, Letitia James just landed, and that meant E. Jean Carroll had to get off the runway so E. Jean Carroll could come in. Now we have Alvin Bragg on final approach. And right behind him is obviously Fannie Willis. She's already radioed in, and I think her gear is coming down. It's crazy. I got to give it up for Trump to be able to handle all this without swallowing a Glock. It's pretty brutal. Looking in the comments, if I die when I'm high, I'll be halfway to heaven, or I might have a long way to fall. That's a mouthful. Kind of reminds me of a statement of an autopsy guy who said, when I die, whether I go to heaven or hell, I'm sure I'll see a lot of familiar faces along the way. Looking in the comments, Thick. That's all you need to say to me. Thick Beth. That chick Beth. Okay, wasn't Thick. That chick Beth. Good afternoon, that chick Beth. Welcome to the program. Hey, good to have you back on. Hey, I'm doing good. So what do you think? You think Trump is being made an example of? Are they being unfair to the former president?
I have a different view on this. So I think that if you, like, people will be like, oh, it's a witch hunt and whatnot, like whatever words Trump mimics enough for people to repeat on that end. But
all right.
I think that, like, I'm going to relate it to the Housewives. Bear with me. So if you look at the Real Housewives, you see people like Teresa Giudice, who goes on the Real Housewives and then gets busted. Then you see Jen Shaw, who's in Salt Lake City, and she went on to the Housewives, and then all of a sudden the feds busted her. It's like when you put yourself in the spotlight, even though you've been doing all this crap for years and years and years behind the scenes, everyone knew that Trump was in cahoots with Rudy when Rudy was mayor. I mean, Trump has been paying people off in New York. I'm not a New Yorker, but I stand with New York. But so he's been doing so much crap and owned so many people in New York and been getting away with this and that and this and that. He goes on the spotlight. He puts himself out there. They're going to start digging. Yeah. He did it to himself. He should have just been quiet and been the scumbucket he is in New York and kept making money that way.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold up. You believe Trump is a scumbucket? I want to make sure I get a quote on that. You said a scumbucket.
He's a scumbucket, yes.
How do you
scumbucket, scumbag, scum, whatever.
But Beth, we're talking about 74 million, and I see Andy like to comment. You got 74 million votes for Trump. Why do so many? If he's a scumbucket, why are there so many Americans?
They don't know Trump. They don't know Trump. They see him as the guy on Celebrity Apprentice. They're not from the Northeast. They don't know Trump's a scumbag. They just, that's the only thing I can think of. I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt, because if you were talking about someone in Texas, I didn't even know Greg Abbott existed until he started getting cahoots with DeSantis and shipping people up to Boston. Yeah. I mean, it's just, the country is so big. We all don't know what goes on in other states.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything's wrong with it. I don't think that we should all be, we should all have to pay that much attention. Unfortunately, lately, we have to pay a lot of attention.
But how do you respond to folks that point out under Trump, their 401ks were doing well? They didn't feel like we were close to World War III. They could go get gas and fill their car up
He was calling that guy Rocket Man. How did people feel safe?
He wanted... Well, Beth, he went and met with Kim Jong-un personally, brought him to the White House. I mean, even though he was calling him...
I know, but that didn't impress me. He also had that guy from Erdogan, whatever his name is, from Turkey.
Okay.
That came over, and then we had Americans protested, and he had his people attack our American citizens, and Trump backed him against the American citizens. I mean, there's tons of shit you can go on and on about. It's just, I don't know. And the whole love thing for Putin is disgusting to me. We didn't hide during air raids under our desks back in the early 80s or whatnot. So then fucking years later, idiots, Americans could be like simping over Putin.
Damn.
It's like insanity to me that people like see Putin. And now, since Tucker did that interview, people are repeating things Putin said and thinking Putin tells the truth. It's disturbing. And that's a Trump-made thing.
So
Trump's making these dictators likable to certain Americans.
well, let me ask you this in regards to suggesting that Trump is reaching out to dictators or being favorable, as you said, making them likable. We've had a line of presidents that did not favor Kim Jong-un, Putin, or some of these folks, spoke, unfavorable of them. Did that help us out at all? Maybe Trump is trying something different because the status quo wasn't working.
I think Trump's trying to get in with them because he knows they're corrupt. He already had a relationship with Putin. And I think he's just going the corrupt route he is. That's all he knows. All he knows is to deal with the other bad guys and do, backroom deals. That's where he feels comfortable. That's his wheelhouse. Bullshitting and freaking getting money in closed rooms. That's how I look at it.
So let me ask you this. This is coming off of YouTube, and you can tackle this. Trump made more jobs, lowered prices, and boost the economy. Why do we have a dementia grandpa that gets to pack a nuke, that gets to push a nuke button or something like that? In other words, why are we going with Biden when Trump was doing all of these good things? How do you view folks who say that Trump gave us a very favorable country and economy?
Well, Trump didn't lower prices. That's not even possible. There's inflation markers and stuff. And if you look at our markers, they're down. It's what the problem right now is corporate greed. Yeah. Corporate greed is the issue.
But Beth, why weren't the corporations greedy under Trump? How did all of a sudden Biden get in and world leaders decide to attack? The economy goes up, corporate greed. Is Biden?
Because he's given them everything they want. That whole tax plan. Do you think that was for the middle class American long term?
No, it was.
Who do you think that benefited?
No, it actually expired. You're right. It wasn't for the average American long term, but folks are going to point out that their dollar went further under Trump.
Right, and I understand why they would say it. You had Trump at his podium on Twitter. The guy wouldn't shut up. It was 4 years of incessant parrot talking from this guy in our White House. It was freaking embarrassing. Anyways, and annoying. And that I'll tell you, that's one of the main things I will dread if he ever gets reelected, is having to listen to him.
I gotta say what you just stated resonates with a lot of American voters, that irrespective of Trump's policies and things like that, it is his tweets and his mouth that turned off a lot of voters. Now, the right side of the aisle would refer to you as a snowflake that's in your feelings. How do you respond to folks that would tell you vote based on the issues, not your feelings?
Well, I vote on both. I'm not in my feelings. I think the guy's a jackass. That's just a factual thing to me. But and I live in an era where I've never even seen a MAGA hat in real life. So I'm kind of... What
area? I'm curious. What part of the country you're in?
I'm in the greater Boston area.
Oh, well, you're not... Yeah, you ain't... It ain't safe to wear a MAGA hat in Boston.
You can make Trump jokes no matter where you go and everyone laughs.
Yeah, it ain't safe to wear a MAGA hat in Boston. I probably would agree with you. All right, Beth, appreciate you coming on. So, no love for Trump in Massachusetts, huh? No chance Massachusetts will go red?
Well, no, of course we have. You have Trumpers, but their vote doesn't matter.
Damn. Yikes. Yikes. You sure you guys ain't gerrymandering over there?
I said it to one of my good friends last election. I called her up right after. I go, I just canceled out your vote.
It's been a pleasure, Beth. I got to move it on. Good
All
time,
right,
good
take care.
conversation. You too. All right, so looking in the comments, and I do appreciate some of you folks are tapping the screen. Not as many as I'd like. Should be over 100,000, but we're pretty damn close. 700 plus of you in here. A lot of lazy thumbs. We should have more than that. But real quick, we do engage in civilized dialogue. We do entertain opinions from both sides of the aisle. Far right, far left, no one gets talked down to, no one gets blocked, banned, or censored for having a differing opinion. So understand that is how the program is ran. You're going to hear things you really despise and comments you favor a hell of a lot because everyone gets to speak. It is a free speech program. It is MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests, but as you can tell, liberals are welcome as well. If you do enjoy this type of program, I do implore that you follow the program. For my TikTok viewers and for those who are on YouTube, feel free to smash that like button. Not a lot of my YouTubers smashing that like button, but feel free to drop a subscription as well if this type of dialogue is something that you are willing to entertain. Looking in the comments, Rob Smith says win program. I've never seen that. Thank you. I like how that was stated. I win program. I like the W program. I can't come up again. I don't know who. I can't read the names for some reason. My damn shirt clashes with it. Every TikTok Trumper has March for sale. Merch. Every TikTok Trumper has merch for sale. I don't know why you're stating that on this program, but okay, every TikTok Trumper has merch for sale. All right, going back to the box, is Trump being treated unfairly? 83.3 million after 5 million to E. Jean Carroll for defamation. That's a big ass defamation suit. And then of course, 450 some odd million, 355 is Trump's responsibility alone. 355 million in regards to Letitia James. Is President Trump being treated unfairly? Lisa, it's your birthday. To quote Lisa Simpson, good afternoon, Lisa, if the box lets you come up. Good afternoon, Lisa. Or evening,
Hey, Tim,
rather.
how you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. So you think the man is being treated unfairly or not?
Completely unfair. I just don't understand why they didn't bring all this stuff up years ago.
Well, you do understand that when you run for president, things come. I mean, Hillary Clinton supposedly drinking the blood of infants. I never heard of that in the 90s. That came up when she ran for office.
There's so much stuff that comes out, it's ridiculous.
Barack Obama being born in Kenya. Nobody said anything about that when he was a senator. Same thing with
There is a video of him slipping and did say he was born in Kenya.
Well, there's a video of Trump slipping and saying he's a Democrat. Do we hold him accountable for that?
No, he was a Democrat.
Okay. All right. So you do believe it's possible that Obama was not born in America because of that video?
Oh, yeah, who knows?
Okay. Well, you do realize there is a video of Trump slipping and saying he grabs women by the vagina. Do you view that as valid?
Oh, no, I believe every bit of that.
Damn, really? So do you think he's a good commander-in-chief? I mean, that is rape.
Talking about it, in my line of work that I used to do, people in the locker room, that was mild.
No, I get that it may be locker room talking. I'm talking about, is it valid, though? Do you believe what he said in the locker room is a confession that he's a rapist?
I can't. I don't know. I just think it was boy talk, to be honest with you.
Okay. Now, I will say this. Trump has been insanely wealthy. And I know I want to make sure I'm respecting you because I know this is a conversation. I'm talking to a woman. I'm about to say some locker room shit to you. But what I want to say is this. Yeah, so understand I'm not trying to disrespect you. This may get me in trouble with a few of you, but this is locker room talk. Any man that is worth 10 million, 100 million, Trump says 15 billion, can have an infinite amount of women. The point I'm trying to make is this. If a guy who is worth over $1 billion tells me something in the locker room, he's not making it up. You don't have to lie on your dick if you're a billionaire. If you told me you had 40 women in a hot tub butt ass naked, and I found out you got $1 billion at your disposal, your own TV show, your own aircraft, you don't make up dick tales when you got $1 billion. So I'm going to tell you, in regards to it being locker room talk, the fact that he hung around Hugh Hefner, the Playboy Mansion, that dude had some of the finest women there is. It's hard to believe a guy with that much infinite wealth, not a bad-looking guy when he was younger, decent height, incredible wealth, would have to make up lies on his dick. You really think that's possible?
Oh no, I believe he had more women than he knew what to do with.
So the locker room story might possibly be true.
Oh God, 100%.
Okay, so and that is an act of rape.
How do you know the woman didn't consent?
Because she didn't get a chance. He said, I just grabbed her. She may have consented after the fact, but it didn't sound like he asked for permission.
And until it goes to court, we'll never know. Now, I don't approve of that stuff.
Right.
But look at all the other people in Congress and stuff that have gone through the same stuff.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right. I just wanted to make sure we had a conversation. Okay, fair enough. So I don't, I want to deflect to other folks, but at the end of the day, so you do believe in terms of these huge judgments, he's being treated unfairly.
I still think, yeah, they're throwing the kitchen sink at him.
Why won't he?
If he wasn't running for president, none of this would have came out.
Yeah. Why? But do you think it's a case of him being treated unfairly for something he did, or do you think he's been treated unfairly when he didn't do this stuff at all?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I can answer that. Is some of it probably true? Oh yeah.
Let me go with let's start with the first case. E. Jean Carroll. There's no way to know if he violated her 30 years ago, but the biggest lawsuit or judgment against him is actually on a defamation case. Do you believe he defamed E. Jean Carroll?
I didn't research the case, but if he did, then yeah, then he's guilty. Then yeah. And then he opened his big mouth and made it worse.
Why does he do that?
Because that's Trump, and that's him, and it's the way he is, and I think that's why a lot of people like him, because they want someone strong like that.
Okay, but we're talking about a woman. Even though it's been 30 years, she was able to convince folks in a court of law that you're at least civilly responsible for violating her. So now she is legally in a court of law a victim of assault, and then you're going to open your big mouth and keep attacking her. Do we favor a leader doing that?
Yes and no. No, I don't approve of that, but maybe I shouldn't be speaking for all the people that like Trump, but they like that strength. They just believe that they're throwing everything at him, so fight back. They're
But
who cares what he did?
But okay, and I agree with you. We can't speak for other members of MAGA, but why would any MAGA favor, because of strength, why would you favor attacking someone who is now deemed as a rape victim? What would be the gratification of you'd get out of doing that to someone who has convinced the jury that you're a rapist? I mean, you're continuing to, what do they call it, defame or say awful things about her. Not up to and including the woman's now getting death threats because of what he said. I mean, you saying that MAGA wants that to happen?
You had a good point in putting in the perspective of being a rape, and I don't think most people look at it that way. They look at it as a couple guys in the locker room talking. You have a great point. I completely, you school me on a lot of things. So, I see your point. Yeah. And I see other people just saying, hey, no, that's boy, in the locker room. And like I said, I've heard a lot worse.
Yeah, I've said a lot worse. Well, I don't know. I would say I've said some things in the locker room, but I've never mentioned or even, tried to suggest that I grabbed onto somebody, particularly in their genitalia, without getting some type of consent. I mean, that is a crime. I mean, he just didn't give a name of who he did it to, which would probably make E. Jean Carroll's case easier to win because you're on tape, as you say, in a locker room in an intimate setting, bragging about you violating women.
True.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're on the,
It's, yeah.
I mean, because just think about it. Now, you suggest that he's being treated unfairly, and the numbers are high. I'm not going to say you may not be. I'm not going to disagree totally with you in regards to saying he's getting treated unfairly because the numbers are so damn high. However, if this is not Trump, we're not talking about somebody that folks believe did a good job for the country. We just are going to a court and serving on a jury for a random stranger. And they're being charged 30 years later. E. Jean Carroll's on the other side. And then the courts hear this guy bragging about grabbing people in that manner. You got to assume the jury would look at that and it would hurt his credibility when he's saying he's totally innocent. And that's in addition to showing photos of E. Jean Carroll. Trump said, you know, I've never met the woman. And then he stated that she's not even my type. And then they show videos of them together, and Trump mistakes her picture for his ex-wife. How could someone that is not even your type have you confused that they're your ex-wife, the person you got kids with and slept with all the time?
I don't know if that's a Freudian slip or I can't answer that. But can I answer a question?
Sure.
Someone in the comments said something along the line of how would I feel if it happened to me? It has. And I'm very thick-skinned and I'm very witty, and I came back with a comment and it embarrassed him. and that was the end of it, you know?
When you say it, I mean, I hate to get deep personal, but when you say it happened to you, define it. What are you saying? You saying what Trump suggested he did in the locker room, that happened to you?
Yes, and it actually came out worse.
Wow. Did you do it? Did you wait 30 years?
Nope, I didn't do it. I made my comment back and embarrassed the shit out of him, and that was the end of it.
You got violated like that, and all you did was made a comment?
Well, I wasn't touched. I was the same verbiage like they said in the locker room.
Oh, okay. Oh, so someone disrespected you as a woman. Okay, I get it. All right.
Yeah.
I was just trying to, because Trump is saying he did what Trump did was physical. It wasn't verbal, but I get your point. All right.
Well,
So,
if she didn't come and if nobody came up and said, yeah, he said he grabbed my, you know what? And if she's not saying anything, no victim, no crime. And, you know, not saying he didn't do it. I mean, you know, rich men, they got all the women.
yeah, that is true. And that's what I mentioned earlier in our conversation, that a wealthy man doesn't have to lie on his dick. I do appreciate you coming through, though, Lisa. Thank you, by the way. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Absolute. All right. You too. Have a good evening. Looking in the comments, by the way, he never said he did. Never said he did what? It's horrible if half the country is after you, says Kenny Davis. Well, even my last caller, who I do believe supports Trump and favors the way Trump led this country, even the folks who do support Trump admits that he is not 100% innocent. I'm not going to say that there's not some folks who may be coming after Trump wrongfully or politically biased. But at the end of the day, if you like a guy, like my last caller said, that runs his mouth, tries to project strength, or doesn't back down, or doesn't apologize, you're going to make enemies. Take Trump out of the picture. I don't care if it's Nancy Pelosi or, you know, if it was Obama or Biden, you name the politician. No one could do what Trump does without drawing a lot of enemies. Fact is, Trump does things that make enemies. Colin Kaepernick taking a knee on the field. Get that son of a bitch off the field. Colin Kaepernick was not even talking about President Trump. He had an issue with police. He had an issue with systemic racism that he believed is permeated throughout American society. But he wasn't talking about Trump. Trump jumped in that and started attacking him. So you're going to make an enemy out of this guy and anyone that feels allied with Colin Kaepernick. Trump starts fights too. I know a lot of my beloved MAGA would like folks to believe that Trump is a good guy trying to put this country back on track, and people are just attacking him because they don't like the way he's directing the country. There may be some that are doing that, but Trump absolutely starts fights where there shouldn't be one. such as they claim that Nikki Haley's husband abandoned her when he's actually overseas serving a tour of duty. That shouldn't happen. That stuff like that, he's beating Nikki Haley by an infinite amount in the polls. Nikki Haley has no chance of catching up. Why engage in that type of commentary? There is no gain for that for Trump. You can't beat Nikki Haley any worse. So all that was a gift to Nikki Haley, a gift to Joe Biden, because they can now say what he did was disrespectful to the military. There was no gain in that. Looking in the comments, he was getting money with his Valentine's letter to Melania. Okay, I don't know where to go with that. And let me go back to the box, though. Appreciate you folks that have tapped the screen. Over 100,000. Thank you. 120 might be possible. Still 700 of you in here. FSU, welcome to the program. Is Trump being treated unfairly? FSU, what say you? Good evening.
How are you, Tim? Hope all is well, man.
I'm hanging in there, just like Mike Pence at a Trump rally. So at the end of the day, is the man being treated unfairly?
Nah, I think when he speaks, the only thing he doesn't say is that he's innocent. So, no, I don't think he's treated unfairly. You can make a case for any convicted felon in prison right now. They should have had a lighter sentence. I'm sure their attorney would make that case.
Now, it's interesting. It's interesting you would say that, because one of the things you're right. One of the things Trump never says is I'm innocent. So witch hunt is, they're trying to stop me from being president. He does not say I'm innocent very often. That is true.
Yeah, and another thing is the victimless crime thing. We're the victims. All of the people, if you're a shareholder of that particular bank, if you're a citizen of that state, you're a victim. You can't you or me can't go off the street and just have a fake statement and say, hey, give me a loan. You need something to substantiate, the resources that you currently have. He did the crime. He didn't say he was innocent of it.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
He's taking issue with the punishment.
Yeah, and he's also saying there's no victims. But now, let me ask you this, because this is somewhat frightening to some degree. Out of the comments, and do you think there's a possibility of this? Mr. Bojangles says, wait until we subject a Dem to this level. Do you see any possibility that once the Republicans are in power, it's going to be a revenge play?
They won't be in power. That's the retort.
How can you be certain? You feel confident that Biden is going to be victorious?
100%. And the country leans left. It has for probably 40 years. And the only way the Republicans are going to win is if they gerrymander.
Wait a minute, hold on. You saying the country leans left and it has for 40 years. We just lost Roe v. Wade. We got mass shootings all over this country. We can't even get guns limited on the grounds of mental health. You're telling me we lean left when the country is clearly going to the right? I don't get that. Explain that.
I mean, those are individual issues that doesn't have, they have liberal defectors on those issues, especially gun rights. I mean, there's a lot of liberals that, they are in favor of guns, just point blank, period. I probably am one of them. So guardrails about guns, that's probably a rabbit hole. But no, when you have a blood red state like Georgia that just flipped, that doesn't happen if and Texas is going to flip. I've been on your show and made the case for Texas is going to flip. If not this election, likely the next.
With the immigrant issue going on, and so many folks favoring Governor Abbott. I don't think. I get the abortion thing in Texas is draconian, but I think the immigration issue pretty much guarantees.
Let's touch on immigration, Tim. I think it's one of those things that is blown completely out of proportion. Number one, immigration is a net gain for our country. It has been. We are a better country for our immigrants. Point blank, period.
But there has to be a limit, though, don't it? FSU, you can't just take an unlimited amount of folks.
No one says this unlimited. I think that's another drastic. You're elaborating too far into that.
Let me go. Okay, let's take the word. Let's take the word unlimited out of the vocabulary. In the bill that they were proposing, 5,000 a day before you could shut the border down, an average of 5,000 a day, or as high as 8,500 in one day. That's not unlimited, but is that number too high?
It's, if you are bringing people into this country that are here to work very hard and pay taxes and increase our tax base, our tax base is people that make less than $100,000 a year. That has not changed either. Contrary to popular belief, corporations and millionaires don't pay the majority of taxes. It's working class people. And these people are coming across the border to contribute to that base. And there is not, you want cheap food and you want cheap labor, but you don't want the cheap labor to come into the country.
You think we got enough room in this country, enough need in regards to cheap labor to continue taking in 5,000 or more immigrants per day for how long?
No, Tim, no one has said that it's 5,000 people per day. What is the time frame?
Well, let me make something clear. Wait. Let me make something clear to you. When we say 5,000, that was what the bill was chopping it off at, which means right now it's way above that. They were putting that in the bill to limit it down to 5,000. Right now it's probably 2-3 times that amount.
Tim, you're saying probably. Where you got to show that stat and show where there's 15,000 immigrants in a day.
Do I? Okay, if the wait.
Hands went down and the people. I understand there are different checkpoints, but again.
Hold on, wait. FSU, you're saying I need to show that. If the bill, which overwhelmingly favored the Republican wishes, if they settled at 5,000, that's all you need to know to prove that it was well above 5,000. If you got a large portion of the Republican Party agreeing to this bill before Trump came along, and they were willing to cap it at 5,000 or 8,500 for a single day, that's all the evidence you need to know it must have been way higher than that if they think 5,000 is a solution.
In your question or that last statement, Tim, you're drawing a lot of conclusions. We got a Republican state in Texas. You don't see the other border states advocating for that. I think it's just a political talking point.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I think I'm look at this. Tim, you've watered your lawn before, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't water your lawn if your house was on fire. Would you?
Okay, true.
Okay, my point is this, Tim. When we do an assessment of issues that affect our country, immigration is like you having a dry lawn. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
We are a country that doesn't have health care for all of our citizens. And we've seen a pandemic where that has paid out very poorly for us. I'll give you an example. India is 3 times as large as the United States, 3 or 4. And we have more deaths from COVID than they did.
What's your point?
We have more deaths than second and third world countries.
What's your point?
Have more deaths.
I don't get your point.
My point is that you spoke about mental health earlier in this conversation. All of these are healthcare related issues.
Right.
And we don't have universal health care for all of our citizens in this country. You think that the border is a bigger deal than health care in our country?
Yeah, because wait, hold on.
Yes?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because America's a capitalist country. Capitalists don't give a damn about helping others financially. When you start talking about poverty, or you start talking about healthcare and things like that, that means you got to be able to share and help out from a social program folks who don't have healthcare insurance. In a capitalist country, it's about me. It's not about sharing. That's why in America, it's so hard to get minimum wage increase, tuition assistance, universal health care, because we don't share. It's all these socialist countries and fascist, all these other countries, part of their theme is sharing. Capitalist is, what did Michael Douglas say? Greed is good. In a capitalist country, it's not about sharing. That's why people can fall flat on their ass and people just walk over them.
Okay, if we reduce it down as far as we can, is it about us being more productive, the most productive we can be as a country? Do you think that's a goal?
No, I don't. Because if we wanted to be productive.
productivity of our country, our GDP, is important, you don't think that's a good metric to look at?
No, I think it's a good metric to look at. I think being productive would be valuable for the country. But if we wanted to be productive, we would implement some of those social programs you just mentioned. We are about the individual making money, even if the country around them falls apart. That is how we are. We're not a country that people like to share. Everybody, greed is good. That is how we operate in this country. It's not about health. You ever heard Tupac say we got money for wars, we can't feed the poor? Because we make money off of war. We don't make a damn thing off feeding the poor. Capitalists don't share.
I don't think that Tupac lyric was him speaking glowingly about our current state. It was.
I'm not either. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not speaking. I think it's horrible, but I'm just telling you, capitalism is not.
I'd love to dig into this deeper with you, because you make it seem like it's not beneficial for us to have universal health care, and I completely disagree.
Where did you hear that from? I just told you, as someone who leans left, I'm 100% behind universal health care that goes far more than what Obama was able to get because the Republicans went against it. I'm 100% for it. I'm just simply saying this is a capitalist country. The minute you try to do for the people, folks start yelling socialism, and socialism is about sharing and making sure everybody has a fair chance. America's not about that. America's about individual success and individual, in this country, I don't care if you got cancer, I don't care if you cheated on your wife, you could have damn near murdered her. As long as you got a bunch of money, you're successful. That is our primary focus. We vote for our candidates simply based on how much money did he put in my pocket. We don't give a damn about the other issues. That's how capitalism works.
My response is I don't think everybody votes like that.
That's all.
You're right. There's probably a good bit of America that thinks like that. But again, I don't think that's most. And I'll end without. I know you probably got somebody else you want to pull up.
Okay.
A lot of the Trump support is about, hey, his economy was better than
money. Money, exactly, money. So I'm talking about. That's all he complaining about. Money, both sides.
So Obama had every Democratic presidency around Trump has had a better economy. Obama had a better economy. He brought us out of a recession. Bill Clinton balanced the budget 4 times. He had an amazing economy. And currently, today, lowest unemployment, higher GDP than Trump, more energy independent than Trump. We extract more resources out of our U.S. soil under Biden than we did under Trump. So it's not always about the money, if that's the case.
All right.
So tell me, what's the response to that?
I believe that the economy overwhelmingly is what people vote for. There's, Roe v. Wade is an issue, gun rights is an issue, LGBT, CRT are small issues, but overwhelmingly in this country, people vote based on how much I'm doing how well I'm doing financially when you're in office. That is the number one issue. FSU, I do got to move it on, though.
Can I have one ending statement? I know some people say they had more money in their pocket under Trump. What happened under Trump was this. The pandemic drove demand down. It drove production down, and prices fell. Nobody was traveling. The demand for gas was very low, and the prices went way down. So when we are working hard and unemployment is very low, prices are going to be higher. People are going to have more money in your pocket. If you have less money today than you did under Trump, and you working backwards, like something is wrong with you financially. That's just not true for most Americans. Mm-hmm. Most Americans in 2024 have more money. They make more money than they did in 2020. Is there an inflation problem? Absolutely. Are we handling inflation in the United States better than every other country? Absolutely we are.
I think there's a lot of folks that would disagree with you, but I do got to move it on FSU. Appreciate you coming in. Now, in regards to my particular rant, in regards to what I personally believe capitalism is about, and that is your bottom line, irrespective of how the hell your neighbor's doing, most capitalists don't give a damn about the financial well-being of others. Someone in the comments, Humble Pie on YouTube stated, the government is greedy and corrupt, but the people are given. That's why we support the world with donations. I vehemently disagree. The people are not giving. If the people were giving, if the people were the type of folks that liked to give, and only the government was corrupt and greedy, then the people would overwhelmingly favor voting for folks that had the same mindset as them, meaning they would also want to give. They would vote in people who were willing to share. Remember when Barack Obama, speaking to Joe the plumber, stated, we need to spread the wealth around? Remember how unpopular that was? Particularly with some of the Tea Party voters. Some of my beloved MAGA probably disagree with it too. There's no way in hell you're going to tell me I like to give, but I didn't like hearing that statement. His statement was about giving. His statement was about making sure people at the bottom had some. If you voted against universal health care, no, you're not about giving. Now, you have a right as a capitalist to protect your money, to protect your bottom line, to not allow somebody to force you to share. You have a right to defend that. But don't do that and then brag about how much you like to give, because that's not what you are defending. You're defending against being forced to give and leave it up to you, which some people still do give, but most Americans are not big givers. They're just not. There's a reason we have a bunch of homeless, and that is because a lot of Americans, I mean, hell, we don't even want to give folks who work an increase in wages. And they're going to work every damn day. You tell me this is a giving country? I don't see it. Looking in the comments, $2 gas and 1.8% inflation under Trump, and gas and $3 gas and 3.4 inflation under Biden. Boom. The $2 gas under Trump certainly took place. I mean, there's a bunch of other issues, but I'm just going to say this. That is the reason why folks favor Trump economically, is that they do believe the gas prices, you're talking about inflation. I do believe the financial analysts, though, are suggesting that the economy actually is better under Biden than it is under Trump. Drew, thank you for the reindeer horns. I appreciate that. A lot of financial analysts are now suggesting the jobs numbers under Biden are better than they were under Trump. They're suggesting that inflation has started to be under control. Unemployment, because the job numbers are so great, they're saying it's actually better than it was under Trump. But we are in an environment where perception is reality. And a hell of a lot of Americans, and not just MAGA, not just Republicans, not even just independents. There's a lot of liberals that believe the economy under Trump was better. So a financial analyst can tell you whatever the hell they want. If you go to the store and you can't buy groceries, what they're saying is meaningless. Sin! Wow! The whole coral reef. Thank you, Sin, for that beautiful underwater display. Thank you, Sin. Your gift is certainly appreciated. By the way, I also want to say thank you for the 130,000 likes. 600 of you folks in here with me on a Saturday evening. You could be anywhere you want. It's a pleasure having you here with me. Same with over 100 of you guys bouncing back and forth on YouTube. Do appreciate that. Civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle. Andy with the ears, thank you. Civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host trying to limit, censor, or ban you for your opinion. We don't do that here. So if that is what you favor in terms of a conversation, feel free to follow the program on TikTok. A subscription on YouTube would be appreciated. You can smash that like button or tap the screen. Going back to the box, Biden 2024, he won't advise drinking bleach. Damn, that's a hell of a campaign slogan. Biden 2024, he will not advise his citizens, his constituents, to drink Clorox. Yikes. Going back to the box. Dakota, good evening. Welcome to the program. Is President Trump being treated unfairly? Dakota, if the box comes up, we'll keep it moving and see what happens. You need to stop. Trump is not for us, says, I cannot read any of these names. Someone suggested that I need to stop because Trump is not for us. Depends on who you are. There's a lot of voters that would disagree with you. And referencing the word us, I'm going to assume my viewer is referring to African Americans. I lean left politically. I get it. But I will concede the fact that Trump, when it comes to African Americans, has a higher amount of support than virtually any other Republican president or nominee in our lifetime. Meaning his support among African Americans is higher than John McCain, Mitt Romney, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan. Trump has gotten more support from African Americans than any of those other folks. So that is something that is needs to be explained for folks who suggest what you stated, that he's not for us. Then why are there so many folks that look like us supporting him? Trump is basically black. Oh my God, Jay Fire, where the hell you get that from? Now that I don't agree with. Trump is, folks, when Bill Clinton got elected, playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall's talk show, for you folks who may be old enough to remember, folks suggested he was the first black president. I believe Chris Tucker, Chris Tucker, I was thinking about Tucker Carlson, but Chris Tucker also said Bill Clinton was the first black president. And then we come along with Obama, who, basically is the first black president. So, but no, Trump has done very well with a lot of the African-American community. They treat him like he is black. Jay Fire, I don't agree with that. Not in modern times. Wow, sin. Wow. First time I've ever seen that dinosaur. Wow. Thank you. I have never seen that before. Going back to the box. Wow, that caught me off guard. Thank you. In regards to African Americans, blacks treating Trump, and I'll go right back to the box after this. In regards to blacks treating Trump, like he's one of them. There's no denying that Trump hung around, was friends with the likes of Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Don King, Mike Tyson. He just pardoned Lil Wayne during his time in office. Even Steve Harvey and Ice Cube reached out to him once he became president. Nelly has a song, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me hear you. Trump, as a citizen, as a celebrity, media mogul, is totally different than Trump as a president. That is a lot of the reason why a lot of African Americans favored Trump in the 90s and early 2000s that do not favor him now. Fact is, if you're an African American and you have an established career, you're a celebrity, you're a sports star, you're a radio star. If you did not establish your career in conservative politics, and you already have that career and you start affiliating with Trump, your career is in jeopardy. The only folks that are African American that can hang around Trump and maintain their prominent status are folks that were already in conservative politics. Think Candace Owens, Larry Owens, or Candace Owens, the Hodge twins, Larry Elder, the conservative radio talk show host is what I'm thinking about. Those folks are already conservatives before Trump came along. So their careers are fine. But if you are Steve Harvey, who reached out to Trump, or if you are Ice Cube, who reached out to Trump, your career's in jeopardy, which is why you see Ice Cube and Steve Harvey got the hell away from him the moment their fan base was in jeopardy. Even Lil Wayne received a pardon from Trump, and you don't see them having any contact anymore. There's only one African American that had a fan base before President Trump became president, and he didn't get his fan base from the conservative party, and he still can hang around Trump and still maintain his fan base. That is boxer Mike Tyson. That's the only African American I can think of. And Trump hung around a lot of African Americans. No one else. If you disagree, name one. Name an African American that had a celebrity status, had a huge following before Trump came along. And once Trump became president, he started endorsing Trump, favoring Trump's politics, and still has that reputation. Name one of them. Even Judge Joe Brown has destroyed his reputation favoring Trump. Name one of them that has done that. I can't come up with any. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll certainly concede the point if you come up with one. Someone said Yeezy, also known as Kanye West. If you don't believe Kanye West's reputation took a hit affiliated with Trump, you're not paying attention. He lost a whole damn shoe contract worth $1 billion hanging around Trump and his associates. Kanye West is gone. So looking into Herschel Walker, Are you serious? You think black folks Herschel Walker ain't invited to the cookout at all? Going Herschel Walker, wow. Going back to the box, Herschel Walker, that's definitely a new one. Takesha Blue, good. Takesha, good. Well, what did I hit? Joe Brown lets you know what's going on. Yeah, but Joe Brown ain't gonna be on TV no more. No breaks. Good evening.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I'm doing good. Are they treating Trump unfairly is the question we're tackling today.
Well, I don't think so personally. Think about it. How many people has he screwed over?
Wow.
And his companies, how about the contractors there that he, got pennies on the dollar, ruined them. Some guys even killed themselves over his doing.
Did that? Wait. You said somebody took their life because of financial dealings with Trump?
Yeah, if I remember right, if I remember the story, the guy was ruined. He ruined him, and then the guy ended up offing himself over being ruined by him. So, like my mom used to say, karma's a bitch.
Damn.
It's just around back on him. So, I think they did right by him. He'll go to court and he may get it knocked down a little bit. You know what I mean?
If you were on, and I've asked this question to a couple other callers, if you were on the appeals jury, would you knock it down? Would you vote to knock, let's say the E. Jean Carroll $83 million defamation suit, would you vote to knock that down some?
Not that, no.
You leave it at 83 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because just the reason I say that for is because, he could have, if he had some remorse about it, or if he would have came out and said, hey, I really didn't do that, or something, then I could say, yeah, he's maybe they took him, maybe they did it to him wrong or something. But he come out, he stuck to his guns,
What about if he's fighting because he really genuinely believe he didn't do it? Should he have remorse for something he didn't do?
Could he prove it? Could he prove it? Me and you go to jail, right? We do something, the cops catch us, and we can't prove our innocence about it, right? What do? You go up to the judge and tell the judge to go screw yourself and everything else before you got to be an idiot if you did that. You kind of give a little remorse, so when the judge comes up to sentence your ass, you're going to give a few dollars, a few years less maybe, as long as you ain't some real weird one out there, you know what I mean? You might get a few years knocked off your sentence, even if you didn't do it. You can always appeal it and see what happens.
So you would lead the 83 million going to E. Jean Carroll. What about the Letitia James 455 million? Would you move that at all?
I'd have to look at it. I wasn't there, in jury and all that stuff to see.
Yeah, but no victims. 355 million for a case where nobody. Even if some folks would suggest, listen, he got lower interest rates than others. 355 million when there's nobody complaining. That's a large judgment.
Yeah, but I think look at the years that he's been doing that. Over the years, he do the taxes. Over the years that he's been doing that, the way I understand it, they've been doing that kind of stuff ever since this company's been, invented. So if he's been stealing from the state, basically, for that long. Because it's a crime, dude. It's a white collar crime. It ain't like, hey man, let's go out here and have some picnics and then you accidentally pour some hot soup on somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's intentionally doing that crap. It's a crime, and it's a crime against the state of New York. So in my opinion, man, I'd have to look at it and see. I'd have to look at all the evidence, and if it comes out the way that the judge has it said and everything, I'd say stick it to him. He deserves it. He's just like I think, to tell you the truth, I think his Trump's finished because of the 5 years. He can't even get a loan for 3 years.
Now, when you say Trump is finished, are you talking business wise or political wise?
Yeah, it's business. I'm talking about his business.
But if he becomes president, would that not open up a hell of a lot of business opportunities to him?
Say that again.
If he becomes president again, that would open up a heap of business opportunities to him going forward.
don't think he's going to make president.
Why?
Personally.
Why not?
He's going. Well, I think he's got too much collateral damage on him. You know what I mean? He's got all these crimes going to come up on him. You know, people are thinking about that. In March, he's got to watch out in March. It says he's got a crime thing in March coming up.
Yeah, the one in March is Alvin Bragg, him allegedly using campaign funds to pay Stormy Daniels off. That was the one coming up in March, and with Michael Cohen willing to testify that he personally used the money, I don't think he's going to win that case either.
Right. So if he gets nailed with that, I've already heard people say if he gets convicted of anything that ain't, this, white collar stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they said that they weren't voting for him. You know what I mean? So if you take up, and that was that's some of the hardcore guys that, they're sticking up for it. I'm not talking about
You're talking about MAGA.
Yeah, I'm talking about some of the MAGA, not the ones who would let Donald Trump run them over with a Ford and take their kids and with them. You know what I mean? So, I'm talking about one of them, but the guy that said he's MAGA, he's supporting me. He said,
Wait a minute, hold on, hang on, I ain't done laughing yet. You said the MAGA that would let him run them over with a Ford and take their kid. Do you really believe there are people who support Trump to that level? You can take my kids? Oh my God!
I'll tell you what. I think that there's some out there that if Trump passes away, they would jump in the grave with him. I'll put it that way. You know what I mean? I'm not kidding, man. I think there's some out there who are just totally, and I think it's just a mental problem.
What is the difference? What is the difference between that and the followers of Jim Jones?
That's what I'm talking about. Jim Jones. It's a Jim Jones. Instead of Jones, you put Trump. It's a Jim Trump. You know what I mean? Because that's what I think they are. I think there are a lot of them out there that does that.
Let me ask you this, because now I know a lot of folks favor Trump's operation of the country and favor him being president more than Biden. But even if that is true, even if some folks believe, what about him is so attractive that it would make folks follow him to that level? I mean, I favor Obama, but I'm not going to jump in a casket with the dude. I mean, what do you think has led folks to favor Trump that strongly?
I tell you the truth, man. I think a lot of it has to do with mental illness. You know what I mean? They found there's something about him that they like, and then they go even deeper into these rabbit holes. They're some of these people I've been talking to, man. I'm telling you, man, they believe that he can pull fire from heaven. All he has to do is just walk.
It's interesting. Now, it's sarcastic and humorous as that sounds. I'm going to give you my own personal story. About 4 months ago, I went to a Trump rally. I wanted to see the energy. I like politics. I've been to both sides. And I did have a supporter in the crowd, because we had a 4-hour wait or something to get in. We were in line. He told me to my face Trump was appointed by God. So there are people that do have that passionate view of Trump, that he is coming by way of a higher power.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. They think, he's tapped into the, I don't know how to really say it, but he's tapped into that religious fervor. You know what I mean? Just, look at, I'm so powerful, and I'm, this and that. And they have that kind of mentality. So I got a brother that's totally Trump, man. I mean, me and my other brother says, what Kool-Aid did he drink from? Because, what tap water? You know what I mean? Because I didn't get the tap water, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't. Yeah, maybe your tap water doesn't feel the same about his economy or his protection of the border. I mean, they do believe he favors some of their issues. Real quick before we continue, Kirsten on YouTube says, YouTube is trying to get me to swipe next. Now I'm staying. That is an honor. I do love that statement. Wow. So for you folks that are watching on YouTube, feel free to hit that, smash that like button. Maybe that'll help the algorithm on YouTube and stop that. And if you enjoy the program, certainly click subscribe. It would be an honor to have you here. We're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. For folks who have never watched before, that's generally when I'm on. But tonight we're talking about these record-breaking
judgments against Trump. So that's where we're on tonight. But Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. we're on daily. Okay, so at the end of the day, no breaks. You don't favor second term of Trump.
Say that one more time.
You don't favor by any means a second term of President Trump.
Oh no, I think if we have a second term, we're going to be really in trouble, dude. I mean, and it ain't. I don't care about the economy type thing. We'll live through that. We've lived through the Depression. You know what I mean? But it's the world. You know, it's what's going to happen with our people around us. You know what I mean? Too. You know what I mean? We got to look at. You know, I'm not talking. You know, you think about it. Say if Putin, right, is wanting to do what I heard that he wants to do, and that's to bring up the old SSR. He wants to you think we give him the world's food basket basically to start with, because that's Ukraine. You know, they produce a lot of grain for the world. Okay, so you give him that. He cuts the food off. What's going to happen with that? You know what I mean? He cuts back on it.
But if Putin is that dangerous, why do you think Trump often speaks so favorably of him?
Because I think Trump has a little bit of this followers problem. He has a little bit of the followers problem. He what's the word I'm looking for? Strongman makes him think that he's strong. You know what I'm saying? He follows that type of mentality. He wants to be a strong man, so he hangs around with strong men. You know, that kind of thing. And I think we will be in trouble. You know, because he'll pull out of NATO, or if he doesn't pull out of NATO, you know, he'll do exactly what he said. You know, if you didn't have your dollar up. You know what I mean? If you don't pay your dollar up, then Putin can have your country.
Yeah,
Poland.
He did.
Poland's right on his border.
Yeah, he did.
Poland's on the border.
Yeah, I would assume that statement. I do got to move it on, but yeah, I would assume that statement has really hurt our relationship with our allies, because he is making it sound like if I become president again, our relationship with NATO is in jeopardy. I mean, pay your money. If you don't, I'm gonna promote Russia to invade you. I mean, that's got to be frightening for some of these smaller countries.
You know, everybody's talks about America first. I get it. I understand what some of them talk about. But you know what? We live in a world today. You can't be alone. We can't be alone by ourselves in our little country. You know, surrounded in our little country, thinking that everything's going to be hunky dory. You know, that's like Texas receding from the United States. What's Texas going to do? How are they going to sell their stuff? How are they going to do it if we put a blockade around the ocean there and don't let them out?
I actually think Texas may do better than you're suggesting. I'll talk about it on the other side, but no breaks. I appreciate you coming in.
I got one more thing.
Real quick.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do when Trump loses? And then what are you going to do with your red hat?
There will be another Trump. Well, first of all, Trump is not going quietly in the night. Even if he doesn't win, we're going to be talking about why the election was stolen. He ain't going away. Appreciate it. I got to go.
All right, buddy.
Absolutely. All right. And real quick, in regards to his comment that if Texas secedes, we can, blockade them and they'll suffer. Understand, folks, Texas is not alone. You see what happened when there was an issue with the border and you had caravans. All of those folks in that caravan, they were not Texans. They were coming from all over the country. If Texas secedes from the Union, most of the Bible Belt states are going to go with it. So it's not going to be Texas versus everybody. It's going to be Texas versus most of the deep red states favor Texas mindset. Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida. Maybe Florida's a little purple, but I'm going to still say Florida for now. Georgia's a little purple, but I'm going to still say Georgia for now. Both of the Carolinas, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Wyoming, possibly Montana, Idaho, all of those countries are likely to go with Texas, or states. All of those states are likely to go with Texas. And I may have missed a couple of them. So understand, Texas won't be alone. They won't be alone. Looking in the comments. Oh my God, I am in Texas and I am terrified. That would be a big problem, because this is not your great-great-great-great-granddaddy's civil conflict. There's a lot of folks, minorities in particular, that are in some of these states that would be on Texas' side that are not going to be down with the program. If Tennessee follows Texas, Memphis ain't going to go with that shit. If Missouri decides to join Texas, St. Louis ain't down with that. And there's going to be city after city after city that's going to do that. You're not going to get Jackson, Mississippi, regardless of what the state does. You're definitely not going to get New Orleans, Baton Rouge, or a hell of a lot of Shreveport if Louisiana follows Texas. So it could be civil conflicts interstate and abroad. It would be a mess, folks. It would really be a mess. Keep in mind, there's a hell of a lot of Hispanics in all of these states. So when you start getting draconian towards Hispanics that are here illegally, or that are seeking asylum, or that does not have residency, you're going to have a lot of American-born Hispanics that are going to be like, you guys are going overboard with this shit. Whether it's separating families, or imposing long prison sentences, or putting shit in the water that may kill them when they try to come here. It would be a mess. I'm just saying that. Looking in the comments, there are Hispanics, then there is white Hispanics. There is a difference in thinking. If you're from Spain, you're a white Hispanic, but the overwhelming majority of Hispanics coming in from south of the border are not white Hispanics. Puerto Rico, no, they're dark too. So now, there's not a lot of white Hispanics trying to get in America. The overwhelming majority of Hispanics that's coming to this country are not white Hispanics. Like I said, if you come from Spain, I get it. Maybe South America, there's some white Hispanics down there, but most of the ones coming here are not white. And some would argue that they might get treated differently if they were white Hispanics. I'm just saying how it goes. Nevertheless, you guys know how the program is ran. If you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, you're in the right place. This is what you should be following. Yeah, it is MAGA friendly. It always will be MAGA friendly. MAGA will be the preferred guest, but liberals will always be welcome. Understand the calls go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon, and we do it with tact. No one gets talked down to, no one gets censored, limited, or blocked. It's all about free speech. Never about telling you how you should think. It's always about hearing what you have to say. Appreciate the 150,000 likes on TikTok. Certainly a host of folks finally smashed that like button on YouTube. For you folks on YouTube, if this is what you favor, indeed a subscription would be nice. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. Catch you later. For you YouTubers, thank you for the subscriptions of you folks that enjoy following the program. Real quick, some of your comments. He's on another channel like YouTube too, X-Army. The program is broadcast on TikTok. You're watching me live on YouTube, but the audience, the callers are coming from TikTok. So for all you folks are wondering, if you go to the Handsome Liberal, it's the same name on TikTok. That is where the program is originating from. Appreciate that comment and that input. And by the way, my tablet that I'm using on YouTube sucks to some degree. So show YouTube chat some love. My apologies. Listen, I do have to run a program. There's not a lot of, I'm not here to solicit, but I do get a lot of gifts from TikTok and virtually very little from YouTube. So that does have something to do with it, because otherwise I would put the better visual device on YouTube. But nevertheless, for you YouTubers, understand, nothing but love. I appreciate you folks that are tuning in and certainly participating. Did that say don't tread on my chat? I like that. Where did that go? I didn't see it. Somebody put don't tread. I like that comment. What comments are he reading? Like I said, the program originates on TikTok. There is generally about 10 to 20 times more people viewing it on TikTok than on YouTube. So I want to make that clear for folks who don't see me responding as much on YouTube. The program is far larger on TikTok. It's been around for I've been doing this for about 2-3 years now, and I've just started going live on YouTube. So as the numbers on YouTube grow, things will be different. But right now there's generally 700 to maybe 1,500 to 2,000 folks watching on TikTok, and there may be 60 to 100 on YouTube. So that's how that works. Free Palestine. Yikes. We'll see what happens. Biden is probably your only hope for that. Trump is not going to get involved in that. Do you want to date Christina? Wow, I've never been asked that before. Okay, that's a different conversation. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. You guys have a good night. Certainly you too, Christina. Have a good night. Talk to you later. I think I'm going to do that.